Welcome back to Brew Time, folks. In a sec, we'll have a chat with Tony from Man Cave Moto. But first off, I need to give you a little shout out for this week's sponsors, who are, as always, Innov. Now, Innov produce the motorcycle dashcam systems. There's the dual dashcam systems, the K series. There's a K3, which is 1080 front and rear. K5 is the one I run on the tractor. It's 4K front, 1080 rear. Both K3 and K5 have external mics, so you can even vlog. I do all my track days using the K5 system. It means I can just run the mic up. I can use the onboard cameras on the bike. Don't need to worry about GoPros or anything because a lot of the tracks don't like you using them. So I can vlog. I've got all my audio there. Great stuff. They both also got external remotes, so you can mark any footage, you can take pictures, you can do all that. You can even check to make sure the system's running properly right there from the cockpit, just having a look at the remote. Great systems, folks. If you've ever been involved in an accident, the first thing your insurance will ask is there CCTV or witnesses? Well, if you have one of these Innov systems fitted, then you can say, yes, there is. Now, I've got a deal running with Innov and TeapotOne. If you head to either of them, either the Innov website or the TeapotOne website, I'll leave links down below, so check them out in the show notes or the vid description. If you use the code TEAPOT, you'll also get 5% off of any camera system. So a massive thanks to Innov and TeapotOne. We're also sponsored by Ultimate Add-ons. Now, Ultimate Add-ons, they've been a big supporter of the channel now for a good few years. They produce mobile phone and action camera mounting solutions for motorcycles, for pedal cycles, for all manner of different things. You pick whatever case you need for your mobile phone or your action camera, and then you pick whatever mounting solution you want. So it really is sort of mix and match. You find the best solution for you. The one I've been using for probably 4 or 5 years is the Helix strap mount from the pedal cycle section. For me, because I jump on lots of different bikes all the time, it's really versatile, so I can attach it to just about any bike out there. The case themselves, they're shockproof, they're dustproof, they're vibration proof. I've had no issues with vibration on my phone cameras using the Helix strap and one of these cases. Brilliant stuff. If you head to ultimateaddons.com, that's ultimate with ADDONS.com, ultimateaddons.com, use the code TEAPOT110, you'll get 10% off. So a massive thanks to them. I'm getting all the sponsor readouts out the way right now at the start so we can get straight back into the podcast in full. So the last podcast sponsor is the Influencer Store. Now, they handle all my merch over at TeapotOne.com. If you've ever bought any of my merch, it's all handled by Roger, Charlotte, and the family from there. It's a UK-based company. They design and create everything in-house. They've got their own embroidery machines, their own printing machines. They can do everything there at their one base. And they give me a little bit of blurb, which is the Influencer Store helps you build your brand big or small, providing you with a solution and apparel. We help you to increase your fan base while supporting you with starting your own influencer clothing line with nothing more than just an idea or design, and there are no hidden costs. If you want to find out more, head to influencerstore.co.uk or give them an email at online@influencerstore.co.uk for more info. And lastly, as usual, folks, it's a big shout out to each and every one of you, all of you who are listening to the podcast right now, all of you who are watching this vid, a huge thanks to you. If you can if you're listening, if you can rate it somehow on whatever podcast platform you're listening to, it's all a huge help, and just spread the word. Tell everyone you know about the Brew Time podcast. And if you are a clan member over on Patreon, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I genuinely couldn't do any of this without you. So a huge thanks to all of you over at patreon.com/TeapotOne. See you there if you want to get involved. Right, folks, let's get on with Man Cave Moto. Enjoy this one.
Oh, are we there?
Hey, we're there.
Hey,
How you doing?
There we go. Don't know what it was doing there for a moment, but there we go. We're there.
No worries, man. I've had it all on here before. I've finished a podcast only to realize I'd not hit record before. That was fun, so we had to do it again. Yeah, all good. How's things, mate? Everything all right?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. How are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good. Thank you very much for coming on. Appreciate it. Tell me about
it's fine.
it.
Lovely.
It's absolutely boiling. I've got the studio lights on as well, and it's just It's just unbearable. Let me turn this one.
Yeah,
down.
it's not that, it's just humid. I think that's the trouble. This little office is south facing in the house, and it's upstairs. So it's in the top corner, gets the sun all day.
Exactly.
So even with the blinds shut, it's still like a Turkish bath in here. Without all of the Turkish bath activities you'd expect.
What, naked men doing stuff to each other?
Yeah, they're in the other room.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. Listen, do you have a tipple of choice?
I do, yes.
Excellent. Oh, look at that. What's that you're on?
It is Delirium, which is
Belly Rub.
Which is a Belgian beer. Delirium.
It's Delirium.
My daughter spent a year studying in Ghent in Belgium.
Uh-huh.
And so when we would go and visit, we would try lots of different Belgian beers, as you do. And this was one of my favourites, particularly now as they sell it in Tesco's.
You're blaming this on your daughter's education, Tony.
Exactly, yeah.
Good lad. My kind of father.
But I don't drink that much, actually. In terms of volume of alcohol, I don't drink that much. So I'll stick with a 8.5% beer and just have a nice, do it that way.
I remember when Belgian beers started to come into the UK. It's like the mid-90s, wasn't it? And I was at uni, and I remember like Leffy and all that started to be sold in the bars, and they'd come in those great big glasses, and it was like dirty dishwater, wasn't it? Really cloudy. And obviously we're knocking it back like it's blooming Tennent's 80 shilling and stuff like that. Oh my God. Like end of many a good night.
It is proper falling down water, isn't it? I know we went for a ride with some friends over to Bruges earlier in the year, and there's a little bar called Le Gare, and they do their own beer, and you get the typical little 25 centiliter glasses, and you think, oh, that's fine. You're sitting down, they give you a plate of cheese, and you're drinking the beer. And it was only on the fourth one when we're all starting to feel a little bit weird that we realised that their own beer is 11%. And we just necked this stuff in about an hour, and we were like all struggling to get down the stairs.
Typical Brits, isn't it? Yeah, knock it back. No worries.
And you look inside, and then there's like couples having a nice evening, just like gently sipping a beer.
And we're absolutely bladdered. Nothing wrong with that.
Exactly.
Dude, we've met, once, twice before, I think? Not many times before.
A couple of times. I think we met once at a track day at Brands Hatch. Very briefly. Which was a Bennett's thing, I think. I was there observing, actually, as opposed to riding.
Well, you're not out.
And then we bumped into, I think, ABR Festival.
ABR as well.
Last time, maybe a couple of other times, but
Yeah,
so,
awesome.
Long time viewer, first time caller, as they say.
Your channel is blowing, man. It's going really well.
Yeah, it seems to be doing well. It's been a slow burn, really, because it's been going about 8 years, maybe.
Wow, really?
It's been going for quite a while, but I never really initially. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just filming on a GoPro with no external microphone. There was lots of ums and ahs, and I didn't know how to edit or anything. So
sounds familiar.
I've just been honing it over the years.
Definitely. You used to be called Views from the Man Cave, didn't you?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. And then like your rebrand, Man Cave Moto, with the new logo, it's like that popped up, and wow, it was really striking. Do you think that's had a correlation to growth?
Potentially, yes. I think I never liked the name Views from the Man Cave. It was one of those things. When I started the channel, I had no idea where it was going to go. I had no idea what I was going to do with it. It could have been bikes, it could have been barbecues, just anything really. It was just kind of a bit of everything, and it became apparent that it was going to be motorcycle based over time. And so the original name came because I was in the Man Cave. Somebody had given me a sign that says Man Cave, and that in itself is a little bit cheesy, but it is what it is. And so I went with Views from the Man Cave because that's what I was doing. I never really liked it. It was too long. It didn't make any sense. It didn't give any indication of what the channel was about. And I struggled with it for a long time. I didn't know whether the name actually mattered, because I'm sitting there thinking, well, actually, I watch YouTube videos, but I don't really care what the channel's called. So I'll watch it based on the content. And it's that thing, you wrestle with it yourself as to whether this is going to be a good idea or not. And in the end, people knew me as the Man Cave or Mr. Man Cave or whatever it was. So I thought, well, the best thing to do is to leave that bit in, which is the bit that I didn't really want. And then just tag moto in the end. And it's shorter, it's sharper. It's, you know, a bit of alliteration is good. Yeah. And yeah, it seems to be, it hasn't halted the growth. If anything, it's possibly improved it slightly. So
brilliant. I know exactly what you're saying, because when TeapotOne for me I'll mention it straight away, folks. That was the world trip. That's what the trip was called. And like for me, when the trip ended, that was the end of TeapotOne. You know, it's done now. Maybe if I did another one, I'd call it Teapot2, Teapot3, that sort of stuff.
Right, okay,
And I I remember I sort of had a couple of years off and then started to think, what am I going to do? What's going to be next? And I think I rebranded. I started a channel called Moto Hub, which was going to be what this is. And a load of my mates were just like, why are you doing that? Because you've established a brand. And they were like, it doesn't matter what you call it.
No, exactly.
You can call it anything. People are joining for the content you produce. And I think they're right there, to be honest. But your logo definitely, to me, I think your logo was the first thing that struck me. And I think that was on something like Instagram. I think it was maybe Insta when it first hit me. And I was like, oh, what's this? Not realizing it was just a rebrand. It was like, oh, is this new?
It was the same sort of thing. I just had views from the Man Cave within it. And then it was the whole idea with the rebrand was the name's kind of similar. The logo's kind of the same. Hopefully people won't notice, and nobody seems to have done that. It's easy to obsess, you know what it's like. It's easy to sit and obsess over subscriber numbers and things like that. And actually, what I decided to do is just concentrate on the content the thing is, I think my content is a little bit all over the place. So it's not consistent. When you look at some people, look at the channels and it's a very consistent kind of content. It's the same kind of stuff over and over again. And people go back to that because that's what they like. Yeah. And I've never, not that I'm not taking it seriously, but I didn't want to become a YouTube star or a celebrity or anything like that. Not that I am, but I didn't want to, that's not what I was trying to do it. I just wanted to put out some content in stuff that I was interested in. I thought other people might like. Yeah. And I've kind of stuck with that.
And do you still have the passion for it? You know, 8 years on, do you still have the passion and enjoyment for it?
Yes, sometimes, you know, it's like sometimes you're like, oh God, I've got to do this, and particularly if I'm doing stuff in the garage, if I'm doing some fitting in some installations, because I know I've watched you with the in-of stuff and that, and the very in-depth installation videos that you do, and sometimes I just want to get on and fit it. I don't want to have 100%. To set up a camera, move the lights, record a bit, change it, do it, find a good spot. You end up a job that should take you an hour ends up taking you 3 or 4 hours. Yeah,
it's like the whole afternoon, isn't it, or the whole day sometimes.
Yeah, and then sometimes that can be just a little bit. You know, I just want to just fit this part to the bike. But other than that, I still enjoy it. I love riding bikes, so it's you know, the opportunity to do that and just to challenge myself to try to do different content. I'm going to have a go at some moto vlogs, a bit of travel stuff as well, and just kind of mix and match it. I think the bike reviews I enjoy doing, but there's only so much you can say about a bike, really, to be honest. And there's no shit modern bikes, are there? They're all pretty good. Yeah.
Do you get flack for that at all? Like you never do. I often get feedback. Feedback's the wrong word. You pick up on the 1 or 2 negative comments, don't you? If you ever read comments and stuff, you pick up on them. The overwhelming are always positive, but you pick up on the negative. And the sort of common negative is you never seem to give a bad review of a bike. And I'm like, well, there aren't bad bikes out there really anymore. Certainly from the big players, there's not bad bikes out there.
It's I get that. I had somebody a while ago saying this is a terrible review. You've not said anything negative, and I'm like, it doesn't have to be negative to be a review. And I try to detach my obviously you're always giving your own opinion, but I'm trying to detach myself away from that, because I might look at something, I don't know, I might look at my own bike, KTM 790 Adventure. I don't think it's a particularly nice looking bike in terms of aesthetics, but I know other people love it. So I'm not going to say, oh, this is a bloody ugly bike and it's really horrible and blah, because what I don't like is exactly what somebody else might like. So I've always tried to detach myself away and say, well, this is the positives. These are what I think are the negatives. This is what I don't like. This is what I do like, without kind of trying to I'm not trying to be controversial.
Yeah.
There was a few people out there that I've seen that do that. I'm not going to name names. Well, I might name names. Actually, no, not bad. Good channels. But people like, I don't know if it's, I'm assuming still going, but I haven't seen it for a while. Shade Tree Surgeon.
Oh yeah. Oh,
American. That guy? And it puts out good videos, but they're always, 10 things I hate about this and why I watched one. I remember when he did one on the Triumph Bobber, saying 10 things I hate, why the Triumph Bobber is a terrible bike or something. And actually the video, he was saying this is really good and that's really good and this is really good. Yeah. But it was a bit like, oh, okay, yeah. And that's just the style that people do. And I think people assume that if you don't slate something, particularly when you're doing gear reviews, I think a lot of people will go, well, they've given you that, so you're going to say something good. And it's just like, well, no, the whole channel is about reviews. It's not. So I'm not swayed by somebody. I've got, if you can see back there, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 helmets at the moment.
Jesus.
I can't wear 11 crash helmets. So somebody giving me a shiny new helmet isn't gonna influence me, because it's like, well, I'm not short of crash helmets. I end up giving them away, or I've got quite a lot of friends. If somebody's got the same size head as me, and I've off you go. Take it. Yeah, and a lot of stuff goes back as well. People just assume you get loads of free stuff, and some bits you do, some bits but some bits you don't. Some bits it goes back, and you've just got a sample to work with. But
that's it. Yeah, you do the review, and then that's it.
Yeah, it's only things like helmets, which most manufacturers will say, well, actually, we can't do anything with it. I had a couple that have gone back where I think one went back to Arai, and they were going to cut it in half or something. So
all right.
Whatever they need to do for their stuff. But yeah.
I've only ever had 2 lids. I got the Ruroc, and I got, what was the other one? The LS2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I had the is it the Explorer or something like that? The dual sport peaked one. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that at the
2 lids
I saw that at the ABR festival, actually. It looked like a good lid.
It is. I think there's a new version come out, but I had one a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago. And the only real issue I had with it was that the peak sort of tapered in quite pointy wise, and it just tapered in a little bit too much, because it would let the sun, if it kept the thickness it had at the base, if it kept that all the way out, like if you look at the shoeies, that peak sort of is uniform. It stays out square, and then cuts in. Whereas this one, the LS2 was quite pointy, and I just found it sort of defeated the whole point of having the peak, because you just get blasted with sun sometimes when you're out riding.
Yeah. And that's really the main reason for the peak, isn't it?
Yeah. That and to keep all the crud out your face when you're, if you're one of these mad people that goes off road, which you do, don't you? You like a bit of off-road.
Not very well though. If you,
I saw it.
And actually, I did trash. I had an Aero Commander helmet, which I really like. I had one to test, and it became one of my favourite sort of adventure style helmets. It's quite light. It's got good ventilation. It's got a drop down sun visor, all those sort of things. It fitted me really well. And in the little crash I had at ABI, I ran it along a chain link fence, which was beside me. And it wasn't until I got back and took it off that I realised that I'd chipped all of the paint out and it'd gone down to the carbon fibre.
Oh, no.
And I'm kind of like, that's probably not a helmet I should be wearing anymore.
You need to contact the helmet inspection company. You need to speak with Martin.
Actually, yes.
Send it up to him. I'm sure they would love to do a little test on it.
Yeah, that'd be good, because there is obvious. There's an obvious. It's one of the things. There's an obvious damage to the shell.
Yeah,
but there wasn't really much of an impact in terms of deforming the EPS or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see what they make of that, actually.
Well, Martin does listen to the podcast, so Martin,
okay. I've got a pad. I was just going to write that down, but somebody's run off with a pen.
It's quite easy. It's the Helmet Inspection Company.
Okay, I should be able to remember that.
Yeah. So if you need a helmet inspected,
depends how many more of these to go.
If there's a company that do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so if I think of what is the name of the company that does helmet inspections?
I know, yeah. If only they made it easier.
I should be good. Yeah, actually, no, I will do it because I'd be interested to see what they make of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, cool.
I've had a few people since Martin came on the podcast. There's been a few people who've taken their lids or sent their lids up to the helmet inspection company, and they thought the lids were done, but they've actually been tested and they're all right. So they've effectively got 400, 500, 600 quid lid, and they can still use it rather than having to go out and buy a new one. Yeah,
it might be a case that you could just put some, a little bit of resin or something on the outside of this to stop it from kind of spreading.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I'll check that out. It'll be an interesting one for them to have a look at and see what they make of it.
Definitely. I've never worn an Aero. What are they like?
They're good, actually. I was surprised. And I was very surprised when I put the video out because I'd seen it. I'd seen them a lot, but I watched quite a lot of motocross and supercross, and they're more of an off-road motocross kind of name.
Yeah,
and you have to excuse. I live quite close to Stansted Airport, and it's obviously I've not heard any plane noise at all today with the windows open. And typically, but if I shut the windows, I'm going to melt. So I'll leave.
Yeah, no worries. I can't hear it anyway.
But yeah, Aero, the Italian company, really nice helmets. I think it's when I put the video out, it didn't really get much response. So I put something in the community channel just to say, just interested to find out what people's views are of the brand, but because it didn't get much of an initial response, and most people hadn't heard of the brand, or a lot of people hadn't heard of the brand and assumed it was a budget brand because a lot of people said, "Well, I don't do budget helmets. Yeah. I'll wear an Arrow or a Shoei or AGV or whatever it may be." But this is a £329 adventure helmet, so that's for me. That's not really budget.
No, it's like middle of the range that now, isn't it?
Middle of the range stuff. And yeah, I just found it fits very similar to a Shoei in terms of head shape. But I just found it was light. I got very little wind noise or buffeting on it from it. I think because it's got quite a deep pointed chin guard, very motocross style chin bar. Yeah. And I don't know if that makes a difference, that it's less blunt than some of the other ones. So but I found that whether I'm riding it on my bike, I had an Africa Twin that I was riding it on, and I jumped on and off of a few bikes. And actually, it was proving to be less noisy than a lot of standard road helmets. And it was just one of those things. It fits me nice. It's got a drop-down visor, which is always handy. I like the fact of being able to ride with a clear visor. And then if you do get hot, popping the visor up, but still putting a drop down just to protect your eyes. I don't like wearing sunglasses with helmets very often. So, but yeah, really nice, a really nice lid at a good price.
Yeah, sounds it. I'll have to check them out.
Tony, after this, I can give you the details of the distributor.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Networking. You see, that's what it's all about. Yeah. Tony, we sort of dived straight into conversation there. Yeah. Forgive me, folks. Tony, if there's anybody out there who isn't aware of Man Cave Moto, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, the channel, and what's it all about?
Yeah, sure. Well, I started the channel largely because I couldn't find the sort of reviews of products that I was looking for. So at the time, I was looking at various things, crash helmets, gloves, whatever it might be. And all I could find were the manufacturer's own videos, which obviously they're going to say it's the best thing since sliced bread. Or it was a retailer who was trying to sell you the lid. And generally, they would be in a room with a helmet saying it comes in these sizes, these colors, and it's got this and this and this. And I always do that sort of technical overview. But at the time, I wasn't seeing anybody wearing it, out riding in it. It looked like they'd just taken it out of a box and were giving you a review of its features. Yeah. And I thought, well, that's not really any good. So I decided to start doing them myself. And as I was buying items, I was reviewing them and putting them up on the channel. And it started to pick up from there, and then companies get involved and they start to, I ended up working with Moto Legends.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you know the shop Moto Legends. So
over Guildford way.
I would go down there, pick a few items out, and then Chris would either get me a sample or I'd do something with the items that we had, and that kind of worked for a while, and then that kind of stopped happening. They wanted to go their own route with their own YouTube channel and stuff.
Yeah.
And by that time, I'd made enough contacts that I was starting to get the bits and pieces come through to review, which was very good. In 2016, I bought a Triumph Street Twin, and being the person that I am, I got it home, and on the first day, after riding it, I said, I don't like the headlights around is silver. I'd like to paint that. It must come apart. So I took it apart and painted it and made a video, and Street Twin owners jumped in on that and went, right, okay, I didn't know you could do that. And that kind of snowballed from there. And that's probably where the bulk of my subscribers initially came from.
Okay.
Because at the time, the Street Twin had only literally been launched, and I was at the time probably the only person that was putting any videos out around modifying or watering or doing stuff to the Street Twin.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what grew the channel from there. So I ended up doing gear reviews, modifications, and simple bolt-on accessories and those sort of things. And then started doing bike reviews, and then that picked up. And then, as you know, you kind of get to know people and you get put on the list for the press fleet and all that sort of stuff. And it's just kind of rumbled on from there. And so I've just continued to do that. I don't do it full time, although I do it a little bit more now than I used to. About 4 years ago, I was made redundant from a job, couldn't get back into that career, and then decided to turn my back on it and go down a different route. And so working in the creative industry through a pandemic, freelancing is not a great thing to do. That was pretty scary, and it still is pretty scary.
Tell me about it.
And I find myself working 7 days a week to earn a fraction of what I used to earn in my old corporate job. But apparently I'm easier to live with, and I'm a bit happier according to my wife and my children.
Basically, that's exactly what my wife says to me now. Now I've left the old Bill. She's just like, you're such a more chilled out and easy to live with person. And I genuinely didn't think I was stressed or moody or anything before, but
no, same here, I think. But probably the last year in the career, I worked in finance for a number of years. And the last year of that, there was a takeover with another company, and it got very toxic. And I think my wife could see my health, physical health and mental health deteriorating quite drastically in that last year. And she's been fantastic. Actually, she's been the person that's just accepted that I need to do something different. And she works full time, which has been obviously very handy. And I try not to kind of put any pressure on her, but she's just been absolutely fantastic in saying, look, just kind of sort yourself out, do what you need to do. And it's been a bit of a journey of discovery in that sense.
It has. Yeah, it's. I'm pretty much identical, mate. Exactly the same. I love my life now. I absolutely love what I do, but it's the financial insecurities of being self-employed. That's what really gets me.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, it's like, it's not even every month. It's daily. Daily, I'm sat here thinking, Jesus, can I keep doing this, or am I going to have to get a proper job? Like, you're constantly thinking, shit, is there going to be enough money coming in this month to cover what's going out? And you're like, oh God.
No, exactly. And I kind of do this. So alongside YouTube, which I'm starting to take over more of my time, but I kind of write copy for a number of publications and online magazines. I've got a background in photography, so I studied that at college. I used to do some sports photography for the national press, right? And so I still do a little bit of that. I do product photography and a few other bits and pieces as and when that comes through. Yeah. But I was friendly with the guys at Gold Top, who make the Gold Top England, who make the leather jackets, and they make retro styled, classic leather jackets and gloves and everything else. And it's a brand that's been around since 1951. And I've known those guys for a number of years. I do all of the photography of the products for their website. Right. And they opened a shop last year. and they're working full time. So they said we need to find somebody to come in and get the shop up and running. So I started doing that, and a year later, I'm still working every Saturday and Sunday in the shop.
You've got to do what you got to do, though, mate, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. But what was good is that gave me, it wasn't a lot of money, but it gave me a consistent earning. Mm-hmm. Because the freelance was all over the place. One month you'd get 3 or 4 jobs, and or more, and you get a decent day rate, and it all come through. And then the next month you'd have 1 or nothing. So having this has just kind of helped that. It helps support what's going on. As you know, earning money out of YouTube is not easy. People assume that you make a ton of money. Yeah. But if you're just relying on ad revenue,
I think you can make incredible money on YouTube, but and you can make very good money, as in, you can be earning a good couple of grand, multiple grand, even in the bike sector. I know people that are earning good money every month just off of YouTube. But in order to do that, you need to be having big views. You need 500,000, bare minimum 500,000 a month. If you can get 1 million or more views a month, then you're talking, you're going to be start earning some good coin there.
Yeah, exactly.
But I just find, like, I've said this time and time and time again, my lot will be bored hearing it, but the content I like to make is the trip stuff, it's the travel, the vlog type vids, and they just don't get views. Whereas the bike reviews, they get the views. But I just I don't want to be a channel that is just churning out bike review, because it's not what I want to make, So you have to find.
And some people do it well. People do it really well. So Rob, or Moto Bob, I've known Rob for quite a long time. Actually, I met him once I met him a long time ago at the Bike Shed show, and I think I had about 10 or 11,000 subscribers. He'd just started, and he had about 4,000 or 5,000. Yeah. And he was like, what can you give me some tips? And I was like, no, because I don't really know what I'm doing. So. Yeah. And then he just found the niche, and it just went, and it's gone from there.
It was incredible. I think I had Bob on here when he had about 10 or 15,000 subs, and we just, like, me, TMF, Lamb Shops, and Rich, we have a little WhatsApp group, and I think it was Andy, actually. Andy said, "Have you seen this bloke, Moto Bob? He's flying at the moment." And I was like, "No." And I had a look, and I was like, "Shit, these videos are really good."
So, and that's the thing. He's good. He very much treated it, I think, like a business after a while, and he was very determined that he wanted this to be a big success. Yeah, and he kind of planned what he wanted to do. Whereas I'm sometimes now still thinking, "Shit, I want to put a video out on Friday. It's Monday. I better do something." Yeah, exactly. And sometimes, I get ahead of myself. And then you get a bit too brave and think, I'll put 2 or 3 videos out this week. And you go, shit, that's the next 3 weeks worth of content that's gone out. But he is like a machine. He works really hard, and he puts so much time into it. And it's good to see, that pay off and people do well out of it. It is a big, it's interesting. I speak to a few people who kind of think that, there must be some kind of tension between the people with various channels, and you don't give information away and all that kind of business. And actually, genuinely, I think most people want to see people succeed that are doing this, because we're all doing the same kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we all want people to get on. I never look at people and go, "Oh, Jesus Christ, they've got loads of subscribers and I'm not doing that." You always have those moments of self.
It's self-doubt and self-criticism.
Self-doubt, when you think, "Well, am I doing the right thing?" And but actually, I'm really chuffed that Rob's done what he's done, and that's gone from there. And you look at everybody else, and it's like, well, we'll swap contacts or information or bits and pieces, and go at it that way. I think it's more of a community than people necessarily think it is.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not a big niche, the bike sector. Even globally, I've had like Chase on Two Wheels on here before, and it's the same over there. It's It is a very small little network within the YouTube frame, the bike sector for sure. And I just find that, you get someone like Moto Bob that although he's been working hard for a long time, he's had this huge spike where he's just like burst onto the scene and it's just going and going and going. Well, that brings a whole load of new people into our little pond, doesn't it? And then at some point they're going to be like, I wonder what else is out there. Or like one of our vids might pop up on the sidebar because it might be connected with something that Bob's doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you will gain off of other people's sort of momentum, if you like.
Yeah. And I'm still finding people now that I'm seeing that I thought I'd never heard of these, and they've got 60, 70, 80,000 plus subscribers. Yeah. Well, I've never seen that before. But I still don't necessarily understand the vagaries of the YouTube algorithm in terms of what works and what doesn't work, and because I bumped into one of the things working at the Gold Top shop. I get people come in the shop and they go, "Oh, I recognise you," and then we get into a conversation. They say, "Well, I haven't seen one of your videos pop up for a couple of months." Yeah. I'm like, "Well, I'm still doing a video or one or two videos a week, so I don't know what the problem is." So. And you find that I've done videos where you get a really good response, and it's one of those things you get the little 1 out of 10 and all the little fireworks going on your YouTube page.
You think, yes, I've nailed it.
Yes, and it gets pushed out to lots of people. And then the next video, nobody's interested in it, and YouTube just go, "Well, that's crap. I'm not going to. I'm not going to." And then when you put another one out, they go, "Well, I'm not going to show that to people because the last one was terrible." Yeah. And that's just something you have to live with. It can be frustrating when you do 2 or 3 days of filming and 2 or 3 days of editing, and you think this is really good, and you put it out, and like 500 people watch it in the first 24 hours, and you're like, okay,
yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Been there. Going there at the moment. Actually, the channel is.
Are you finding numbers falling off a bit?
Massively at the moment. Yeah, they've changed the algorithm. They have changed the algorithm in the last few months, and it's definitely hit my vids. I had a massive spike when I did 2 bike safe vids, and they did fantastically well. For me, they did really well. I did that first one, and you get the old, as you just said, you get the number 1 with the old explosion next to it. You're like, oh, happy days. And then I had another vid coming, and I thought, awesome, ride the coattails of that. Because they always say that, don't they? Just niche down. If you find something that works, niche down and do more and more and more of it. So I did the second one, and it got about 20,000 less views than the first one did. I'm like, it's only a week later. And then I've never done any more, to be honest. I did a day out with rapid training. So I should have had that video ready to go and then posted that out like on the third week, But I didn't. That's still got to come.
Yeah, it's difficult to kind of, because I know sometimes I will get, particularly with product reviews, I'll get a product review and I'm like, I know this is going to be quite niche, but I like the product and I think it's a story that's worth telling. And the company have been good enough to provide me with a sample or whatever it may be. Yeah. But I know actually it's probably only going to get a few thousand views. But well, I'll put it out anyway. And then you get surprised. I mean, the most watched video on my channel, or the most viewed video, is the Honda Rebel 500.
Right.
Which I never would have expected.
Wow, really?
Yeah, really. And I put that out, and I'm not saying it's a poor video. I did it, and I changed the style slightly, and I still don't understand if it's what I've done or whether it's the bike. I get the popularity of it. It's a bike that's probably got more global appeal than a lot of other bikes, in the sense that it's big in Southeast Asia. If you're buying a 500cc Rebel, and most of your bikes are 125s or 200s or 250s, it's kind of like having a big cruiser. And so there's that much more appeal in it. And those people are never going to buy a £19,000 Ducati V4 or whatever it might be. But I kind of put it out and I thought, well, I like the video. I've kind of done what I need to do. I'm quite happy with that. I'll push it out, and it's just continued to go and go and go and go.
Brilliant.
And it would be nice to replicate that, but subsequent videos haven't done the same. So I don't. And I think there's an element to that. People will look at a video and they'll judge it on the number of views. And I do that myself. So I'll pick one up and it may be a really good video, but if it's only had 800 views and it's been up for 3 months, you think it's probably not that good a video. I'll skip and find something else.
Yeah.
And it becomes that self-fulfilling, once a video hits 100,000 views, I think more people are likely to watch it because they think, well, actually, this must be pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what's happened with that. It's just a shame I can't do it with everyone.
I've found that I've only had a few vids that have gone like 100,000 plus, not that many, and definitely when they hit that 100,000, you start to see, they've now hit 120, 150, 200. They just seem to grow and grow, don't they?
This one is a 2020 model bike, so it was late 2020, I think I did it, but it's gone over 500,000 views now.
Wow, I haven't got any done that.
By a long stretch is the biggest number of views. And then bizarrely, I think the next one down from that was a kind of a review of either adventure bikes or sport touring bikes, I think it was, which are actually pretty easy videos to put together. You just nick all of the video content that the manufacturers have put out and just talk through the specs and just do a voiceover and push it all out.
You do that. That used to wind me when Moto Bob first started and he was doing that. I was like, it's not his content. It's just the PR material stuff. But then you look at it.
I was like, sorry, I'm going to just, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yeah, but you look at the vid and it's just so slick, isn't it? And you're like, oh man, that's a lot of work.
That's the thing. It's good. And I think, and that's it. I think I think everybody does this. I listen to my own voiceovers and I think, Jesus Christ, my voice is boring.
Yep. Yeah, I do that.
Why would anybody watch this? If I'm getting bored with my own videos, surely people out there doing the same. So I think it helps to have that kind of. I think particularly, I don't want to turn this into a Moto Bob Appreciation Society, but I think having a very amiable voice as he does. I think helps. It's very conversational, his videos, where mine sometimes I feel like I'm churning out kind of stats or it's being read from a script or whatever. Do you work off a script? I don't do very often, actually.
Do you work off a script or do you just ad lib as you go?
No, I'm kind of hybrid in the sense that I will write down what it is, the points that I want to make. And then I will ad lib those to camera because I'm terrible. I used to present as part of my job. I worked in client relationship management or business development, so I used to present to audiences. I've done audiences from 4 people around a table up to 800 people in an auditorium.
Yeah,
so I'm kind of used to delivering presentations, but that's a very different style. But I could never learn a script. I could just never. I found trying to memorize what I was going to say made me more hesitant, and it didn't flow. I learned through my job to kind of go, well, this is the story I want to tell. These are the key points that I need to get into it. How I get to that, would be different. So, for example, we used to go and do road shows. So I'd go to 15 venues around the country and I'd do a presentation on commercial property as an investment or emerging markets or whatever it might be. But every one of those presentations would be slightly different, but the key points would be the same. And that's kind of how I've continued with what I'm doing now. Motovlogging, I still don't, I can't really do that. I watch people like you, Richie, Vida's, I think is top notch in terms of that motovlog content. And I just end up rambling. I'm just kind of like, I'm just talking.
Yeah, but you don't see.
I'm just talking bollocks for half an hour, and it's.
But you don't see what we cut out. I'm editing the Romanian series at the moment. I'm on like episode 3 or 4 because I'm trying to get as many of them done as possible, so I can just every 4 or 5 days, bang, 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 whack another one out. And there's a huge amount gets cut out because we all just waffle. I think you learn to develop a style of talking where you introduce breaks in your speech that will facilitate that jump cuts. Well, certainly I do. In my, I use the jump cut style of edit. I get into a sort of rhythm of how I talk, and I'm able to just to cut out, you know, a couple of seconds of bollocks. I'm just waffling, so I'll just cut that out, and it can, I would say, probably 8 times out of 10, it will lead into wherever I've cut. Sometimes it's a little bit abrupt for sure, but
you can't help it. And sometimes, and you'll make a mistake. I do that when I'm making a point, and I'll say a word wrong or I'll use the wrong word. And you think, well, I haven't then talked about it again, so I've got to use it and I've got to try to fix it. And actually, for me, on bike footage, having a second when I put a second camera on the bars, looking back at me, that was a revelation, because it's like, well, I can cut this speech, but because I'm cutting to a different camera looking back, it's not an obvious cut.
You can jump to a totally new location, can't you? Boom, boom.
Yeah, it's not like that's the thing. You'll be talking about something mid-sentence, and then the rest of the sentence you've gone from country lanes to city. It's not, but people don't really notice that so much, I don't think. So that for me was a real revelation of having a camera on the helmet, then a second camera, and using that cut to be able to change, because it can be boring just watching just a chin-based camera.
Oh yeah.
For 20 minutes, it's a bit like, okay. It becomes dull. So I try to, and as you say, I spend a lot of time cutting bits out, so it's fact, opinion, without the big gaps in between.
Gotcha. Yeah. Got you.
And just trying to neaten it, and it seems to work, because people, from the comments that I see, people do seem to appreciate the fact that there's not a lot of waffle. I don't talk about what I had for dinner or all that kind of stuff that you can get from these sort of things. So I don't know, but it's every day's a school day, isn't it? I'm still learning. I'm still trying to work out what's,
as a very well-known moto journalist figure, I'll not mention names, has apparently said once about motovloggers, it's just vacuous bullshit. Apparently,
yeah, some of it is. It's interesting. I think there's definitely. I don't do press launches. A, because I don't get invited, which is understandable. But B, I also there's an imposter syndrome there. If you're there with a lot of hardened motorcycle journalists, I kind of feel like, maybe I shouldn't. I'm kind of treading on their toes. And I think there is a little bit of antagonism between the two. Well, I don't know if there is or not. I sense there's a little bit of antagonism between the two sides. If I'm not, I think treading on dangerous ground here.
I think there definitely is, and I think the PR teams are aware of that. So now there's effectively 2 press days. There's the press day for the journalists, who generally will go first, and then there's a press day for the influencer YouTuber brigade, for sure. And I'm the same as you. I sort of made it clear, not made it clear, that sounds bad, but I sort of said to the various, there's not that many PR teams out there, are there, that handle the whole bike sector. And I kind of said, look, the press press launches, it's not my cup of tea. I think it's probably, I think it's a bad decision on my part, because in my head, I'm like, I don't want to create the same content as everybody else. But it then means that when everyone else is out on the launch of a bike and they're out there and they get the use of they're getting first-hand use of it, aren't they? I have to wait till it comes out to a dealership that'll let me take a bike out as a demo.
It's first come, first serve. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And the problem
you miss the gravy train.
By the time you do your review, everybody's seen everything they need to know about that particular bike.
So you miss it. Yeah.
So you've got to do something special or something very different. And even then, that can be, there's some manufacturers that I've worked with that are really good, and some others where I had good relationships, and for one reason or another, whether they've changed the PR company or whatever it may be, you kind of get forgotten and get left. So, there's certain bikes that I'll say to people, don't, if you invite me to the press launch, I'm probably not going to come. But when the bikes become available on the fleet, if I can get hold of one of those pretty soon, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
But there are some bikes that have come out that I'm it's been almost a year since the bike's been launched before I can get on it. And then to a certain extent, it's actually, is there much point in putting a standard review out, which is why I'm trying to look at doing a little bit more kind of travel or motor vlog style bits with the bikes. So, you know, if you get a pick one out of my head, Tiger 1200 Explorer, instead of just doing a standard going through the spec, doing all those bits, it's like, well, this bike's designed to munch miles, so let's go to Scotland on it and do it more like that, and do it like here's a kind of a little travel vlog type thing. But whilst we're doing that, we'll talk about the bike and how it works. Don't get
views. I've done them. I do them. I did that with the Tiger Explorer. Took it to Pyrenees on a tour, and it just gets the same views. It doesn't get anywhere near the views that a standard bike review vid gets.
No, you're right.
And I think people just treat it like another trip vid. It's going to be down. It's going to be down to your thumbnail and your title. Obviously, I think that's probably 90% my fault, and the thumbnail and the title should probably reflect more the bike review side of it rather than being on tour somewhere, for sure.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I find that the hardest of all of that process. I can do the video editing, I can film it, I can edit it, I can get it uploaded to YouTube, and then I'll sit there for hours going, right, this is the title. Then you go, no, that's rubbish. Let's put another title. Yeah. And then you kind of get a title I'm kind of happy with. And you go, right, shit, I've got to do the thumbnail now. And do I use this one? Do I have me in it as a thumbnail? You know, YouTube will always say, we'll put a face in the thumbnail. Yeah. You know, in a big face that's in the picture. And I'm like, well, I don't really want to put my face in the picture. And that's, for me, the biggest issue with putting a YouTube video out is naming it and doing a thumbnail.
What do you use? Do you use like Morning Fame or TubeBuddy or anything like that?
I do have TubeBuddy. That was a revelation as well. Yeah. I'd always ignored it and then decided I've only got the basic one, I think, whatever I spend $10 a month or something. But that made a big difference for me, particularly with the SEO studio. So being able to put the title in and then start changing your title and the description and everything else to try to make it to give it a better hit on the SEO side. So I use TubeBuddy to do that, and that allows me to put a few other bits and pieces in. But I still, the thumbnails, I'll still just do those myself in Photoshop.
I'm the same. I do struggle with the thumbnail and the title for sure. Trying to, because you see other people's, you know, when you'll post a vid up on a bike or a bit of kit or something like that, and then you start seeing other videos from other people around about the same topic, and you're just like, oh my God, that's awesome. You know, like the title is really engaging and it just grabs you straight away. The thumbnail just catches your attention. Like,
exactly. Shit. And I'm kind of between that. Do I just go with a catchy title? But then there's an SEO head in the background goes, no, you need the title of the bike. You need the name of the bike, because that's what people are going to be searching for. And I think that's the thing. If you've got a huge or a bigger number of subscribers, then that becomes less relevant because you've got more returning people that are coming back to your channel. And I think I'm trying constantly to bring new people in. So I can't just, I've got a video going out tomorrow, which is an Africa Twin Adventure Sports. And so I've got to put 2022 Honda Africa Twin Adventure Sports in the title.
But I don't think you need it in the title anymore.
Sorry?
I don't think you need it in the title anymore. No. Like I'm the same as you. I still have the old SEO head on me, where you have to hit those tags, those searchable tags in the title and in your description. But from what I've been told, from like I use Morning Fame. I used to have TubeBuddy, but I use Morning Fame now. Apparently the algorithm's now changed, and it's favoring like search terms in a sense of what would a real person type, not if you're doing about at 2022 Africa Twin blah 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 blah. It's like, you know, best adventure sports bike, or you know, is the Africa Twin the best adventure sports bike, something like that, you know, a big chunky thing like that. That's what it's looking for. It's not looking for these. In the old days, it used to be, I'm saying old days, start of this year, it used to be 2022 Honda Africa Twin Super Sport. Boom, you put that in. You had that in your description. You say that because apparently it watches the AI, looks at your vid and listens to your vid to see what you're saying, and it sort of marries everything up. So if it's got all that, then it used to rank you right up in the search. Apparently now it's changed slightly, so you don't necessarily need all these tags in a title. You still need them in the description, and you need them within the vid. But I don't get it at the moment.
No. Maybe I'll change the title for this week's video then.
It's definitely worth experimenting. I have done that with vids. I've chucked vids up for a couple of weeks and just had a little look at the analytics, or maybe even a month. Have a look at the analytics, and then if you think maybe the thumbnail or the title or description needs tweaking, have a little tweak and then just see what that does to your analytics. Because sometimes it can give it a boot up the arse and you get like a second wave off of it. Other times it kills it. I have killed vids totally by doing that. But
and that's the worry, isn't it? You think, should I change this? And if I'm changing the title or changing the thumbnail, and I do that 2 or 3 times, is that actually going to be more negative than positive?
Definitely.
And that's, again, probably just because I haven't taken the time to sit down to try and understand what it is that I need to do. So,
mate, how much time have you got for tonight?
For tonight, I've got plenty of time. Depends if you want to carry on and do some more. Or
absolutely, yeah, for sure. I mean, we've almost an hour, and we've, in fact, almost an hour, and we've not even started questions yet.
No, I was trying to ignore the question from Mr. Fish.
We'll get there. We will get there. Don't worry.
That was just him being provocative at AVR. If he's going to flaunt himself around like that, what does he expect?
No way. Not Fish. No way. He doesn't like a bit of controversy. Not him. Right. So first off, folks, as usual, we'll head to the clan over on Patreon. So it's patreon.com/TeapotOne. First one, Alan Duncan. Hi, Tony. What bike could you buy if money was not a consideration?
Geez. Now, can I put some framework around this?
Can. Do whatever you like, mate.
With this bit, hang on, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. These planes are getting on my nerves.
He's going to jump out the window. For those not watching the video, Tony's...
Don't do it, Tony. I'm just going to shut the window. It's obviously a very busy period at Stansted at the moment. So I'm just going to get... I've just noticed I'm very red, actually. I'm going to get redder. So is this so I've got to buy one, if I put a caveat around it, I've got to buy one bike that I'm going to have to do everything.
Yeah, one bike. Money, no object. Go.
Difficult, very difficult. And I would probably, at the moment, and actually I'll talk about this in the Africa Twin video that I'm putting out Friday. At the moment, there's 2 bikes that are vying for my attention in terms of me actually physically getting my wallet out. The good thing is, if I get my wallet out and put a card down, there's nothing in the bank to back it up, so I don't have to worry about that. But
what, YouTube millions? What?
Yeah, exactly. Woohoo! Now I've just actually bought a new camera, which I'm ordering, which has kind of taken out, quite a chunk of my YouTube earnings.
What are you going for?
So I've gone for. Actually, we'll talk about it in a minute. A new Nikon Z30, which is a new vlogging camera. Because I'm using a Z2 to do a lot of my Z6 II to do a lot of my footage, and actually that's what I'm using here as my webcam. I've just tried that out for the first time, and it seems to work pretty well.
It's it's a great picture.
Although the lighting is not great, I probably should have turned the main lights on in the room. But anyway, actually, what is that? What happens? Bear with me.
Oh, it's all going to change now. Hang on. Oh,
what does that do? Oh, that's right. It gives me a bit of a warmer tone.
Bit of a backlight. It's quite good. You get a bit of bokeh there.
Lights, so it's going to make me even warmer. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's get back to the bike. There's 2 bikes really at the moment. I like adventure bikes because I like the practicality. I like the fact that I can scratch around the lanes. I can load them up with luggage and go touring. I can commute on them. I use them all year round. I'm not afraid to use them in the wet or any of that sort of stuff. So for me, I kind of see an adventure bike a bit like an SUV. I drive a Land Rover, a Freelander 2. And I like that for the same reason. I'm not worried about muddy country lanes or brushing it up against the hedge or any of that. I can park it anywhere, whatever. So there's 2 bikes that are grabbing my attention at the moment. One is an Africa Twin. in either guise, whether that's the Adventure Sports or the standard CRF 1100L. The other one is the Husqvarna Norden 901.
901, yeah.
Because I have a KTM 790 Adventure. I think the Norden looks nicer. I also think it's a better travel machine. It's got that extra bit of protection on it. The seat's more comfortable. It's a stonking engine. So it would be one of those two. If money was no object, it would probably be the Adventure Sports ES DCT, because that's, well, they're about 17.5 grand. But that would be enough for me. I've ridden things like the 1290 Adventure R, which I really love. That could be a contender, but I don't know that I really want or need that power. Same with the Ducati V4 Multistrada, fantastic bike. I'd probably buy a V2 Multistrada as opposed to the V4 if I was going to go down that route. Maybe that's just me being old and crumbly, but I found those bikes, particularly the 1290 Adventure and the 1290 Super Duke R, which I think is probably one of the best handling naked bikes I've ever ridden.
100%, yeah.
The problem is the pace of my riding increased significantly when I rode it,
isn't it? Yeah.
Because the power's there. It's so easy. It's so relaxed. All of a sudden, I'm in the country lanes, whereas normally there'd be two cars, and I'd go, yeah, I can get past those. I can see far enough up the road. Now I'm looking, that's 4 or 5 cars. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that's fine. And all of a sudden you find yourself coming into the corners much quicker. The brakes are good, so that works. But I just found my pace of riding was picking up. Not from a safety point of view, but probably just to protect my license.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I love that.
So I think probably it'd be Africa Twin on Norden 901. And if money was no object, I think the Africa Twin being probably about 5 grand more expensive if you go for the one with electronic suspension and all the goodies on, that would probably be what I'd go for.
Yeah, money no object for me, Super Duke R.
Okay,
yeah, that'll be the one I'd go for, because money's no object. So when it breaks down, I'll just get another one.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I suppose if money's no object, you can have that, and then you can get yourself a second bike. I think that would be
a GS, because it's the best bike in the world.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. I'd like to have that, and at the moment, I've got the 790 Adventure, and I've got an Interceptor 650. So I've got that classic kind of just go and chug around.
Yeah.
And enjoy the sunshine and do what you need to do with it.
Yeah.
And the KTM is the practical one. So yeah, that would 1290 Super Duke R. Actually, the 890 I really like as well. Again, I don't like looking at it. I think it looks like a dog's breakfast. Sorry, KTM, but it does a little bit. But as a bike to ride, it's phenomenal. And that's not taking into account the Honda CB 1000R, which is another really nice bike. Yeah, too many. I think that's the problem. It's too many to have just one bike. So sorry, Alan. Yeah, there's too many answers for that. But
yeah, I know what you mean. I've never hidden the fact the Super Duke R for me, just it's the bike that has stood apart from every other bike I've ridden, apart from. Naturally, for me, it's very close to the Super Adventure S. The Super Adventure S is the practical Super Duke R.
Exactly.
Only in terms of it's a little bit more comfortable. It's probably easier to strap luggage or a pillion on, and there's a bit more weather protection. But it's still a fucking hooligan of a bike, that Super Adventure S. It's a phenomenal engine.
Yeah. So maybe the Super Duke GT sits in between those two.
See, I don't know. I've not ridden the new GT, but I wasn't that fussed about the old. I didn't see the point in the old GT, because you've got the Super Duke R and you've got the Super Adventure, whether you want the R or the S. What's the point? I didn't see the point in the GT, because the Super Adventure is the touring version.
Super Adventure does everything like that, but it's a bit more comfortable.
Yeah. And
the Super Duke R really impressed me. It's one of those bikes that when I picked it up, I thought it was going to be a snarling, angry machine.
Yeah.
And it can be.
Yeah.
But also you end up pootling through villages at 30 miles an hour in fourth gear on tick over.
And it's perfectly happy, isn't it?
It's just like a lamb. I think that engine, the power spread of that engine is fantastic. Yeah. I am with you on that one. But but probably for me, if I'm going to buy one, money no object, it would still be the Africa Twin.
I think I think if I had a bottomless pit of cash, I think I'd have to have a Harley Fat Boy as well. I love that bike.
Okay, yeah.
Have you ever ridden one?
I have, yes, yeah.
I loved it.
No, not the Fat Bob I've ridden, not the Fat Boy.
Yeah, no, I like the Fat Boy.
Have you ridden the new Sportster S?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
plastic, okay. Rattly. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was all right. I preferred the Pan American to the Sportster S.
Okay, yeah.
And then I've just taken out the Nightstar, the new Nightstar. I had that out yesterday.
Yeah, I saw your encounter with the tractor.
There's another one coming out tomorrow. I came around another corner and there was a tree in the road, so there's that coming out. Okay. Yeah. Just Harley, what are you doing? That's all I'm going to say is, what are you doing releasing that Nightstar?
Yeah. I've not looked closely at it, but Harley have kind of put themselves in, well, not put themselves in, but they found themselves in a position. I wouldn't say I feel sorry for them, but they're in that position whereby they need to bring the range up to date.
Yeah.
If they continue to churn out all the cruisers and the big old bikes that they used to, people will always say, well, there's nothing new. There's still old tractors and they're not doing anything new with it. As soon as they when they announce things like the Pan America and everything else, then there was a wave of people going, well, what are Harley doing? They make cruisers. They shouldn't be doing this. They shouldn't be doing that. And they've caught themselves in a position where if they keep doing their old stuff, there's a hardcore group of owners that would love that. And equally, there's a no group of saying, well, it's nothing different. It's really dull and boring. If they do something really new, then all the old guys and all the old traditional Harley guys go, well, this is rubbish and they shouldn't be doing that. And I think they're in a position where it's harder for them to actually do something that kind of captures everybody's imagination.
I think at the moment they're sort of split into three, aren't they? They've got the old school sort of heart and soul engine, that beautiful Milwaukee engine. I love that engine. It's fantastic. It's got a soul. You know, you ride one of those bikes and it grabs your very soul, doesn't it? And you're like, I get
wearing a Harley Davidson t-shirt.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But you're right. It's the same with most of those. Certainly that new Milwaukee engine is fantastic, but there is something about Harley Davidsons. I get it. I never did until relatively recently.
Same.
And if you look at them on paper, well, you'd never buy one. You just look at it. If you look at a Sportster on paper, you just go, well, why would I buy that? That's terrible. But actually, when you ride it, you get it. There's more than it's more than the sum of its parts when you ride it on the road. And there is something about it that I've ridden them and I go, I get it. Yeah, okay. It's a bit more agricultural. It doesn't handle as well, but I've got a grin on my face when I'm riding it.
Yeah.
There is definitely something there. But sorry, you were saying that. But
what I found with the Sportster S, it just seemed really plasticky to me. Okay. You know, when you come from the old school traditional Harleys, which are all chrome and chunky metal and boom, literally built by geezers sweating their nuts off with big club hammers, and they build these bikes. Then you come to the Sportster, and the exhaust just looks all from the engine. It just looks all plasticky and molded. And I know that they know people are just going to customize them. They're just going to rip all that shit off and they're going to put, aftermarket cans on. And you could make that Sportster look and sound beautiful. I can't wait for my mate Mike Noble at Guildford. They've got Guildford Custom down there. So they do custom Harleys. Can't wait to see some of the bikes that they start kicking out, because I think with that new engine, that twin engine, it could be a phenomenally beautiful looking bike. And
I've not seen anything come out yet that
it will happen for sure.
Grab my attention, but it will do. But you're right; it is a great engine. I noticed that when I rode the Pan America. If you've only ever ridden traditional Harleys, that is like a rocket ship. The difference is unbelievable. I think part of the problem with that bike, I'm not a problem. That's not the right way to put it. But for Harley, it's revolutionary. But they're only really just catching up with the GS or the Africa Twin or the Tiger or whatever it might be. So it's nothing groundbreaking in that space, but it's groundbreaking for Harley.
Have you ridden the live wire?
It's their first attempt of it, and I think they've done a good job with it, really.
It's a brilliant first attempt. I've said that as well in my vid of the Pan America. It's a fantastic first attempt at this. You know, it's in my mind, I think it's a better, more engaging bike than some of the other big adventure bikes, like the Triumph. The Triumph 1200 to me is it's too refined. It's too smooth. It's just it's not my cup of tea. It's a fabulous bike for some people, but me personally, I put the Pan American above it in terms of engagement.
It would be interesting to see actually, because I'm going down to the Harley Davidson Off-Road Centre. Is it Mick Extance that's doing that? So I'm going down there for a day in August. To take one of those off road.
Awesome. I might see you there because I've had them say, "Would you be interested in it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, definitely. I'm up for that." But again, never heard anything since, so I don't know if it's happening.
Okay, yeah, no, this only literally come through in the last few days, so I think probably they're out and about. Nice. Yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll see. I like the bike. I've taken it off. I took it off road. I took it down a very kind of easy graded byway near me. Mm-hmm. And actually, it was much better than I thought it would be. I don't know that I'd want to crash it. No, I wouldn't really want to crash any bike, to be honest. But it feels like lots of it will fall off if you crash it.
Right.
I might be wrong, but I'm looking forward to that. That'd be interesting.
I know when I did the Motorbike TV last year, they Graham and Tom, they took the Pan America when it first came out. They took it to the KTM Adventure Centre in Wales. Okay, and they gave it to the chap that runs the centre, who's like a ex-Dakar racer and everything. And he took it out and thrashed it over their course. And it still worked. He wasn't overly impressed with it off-road.
No.
But you know, it certainly took all the abuse it was going to give it.
They gave it. And that's the thing for me. I'm not an experienced off-road rider. I don't mind having a go, but nearly every adventure bike we're in, the capability of the bike far exceeds what my capabilities are. Yeah. So I don't really stress too much about that. I know that the only thing I do is sometimes if I'm out filming and I'm on my own, I kind of do in the back of my mind is like, actually, if you stuff it in that ditch, nobody knows you're here. You're on your own. If you're underneath the bike and you can't get out, nobody's going to find you until a dog walker or a horse comes past. Yeah, so I kind of, I stay well within my comfort zone when I'm doing that. So it'd be nice to go to an off-road centre. So I've not done it yet. I keep meaning to book myself up at Sweet Lamb or do the Honda adventure stuff, and I've just never got around to doing it. So it'd be interesting to see what that's like.
Cool. Have you ridden the Livewire, the electric one?
No, I haven't actually.
Have you not?
I've ridden electric bikes, but not the Livewire. I don't know why that is. I just never had the opportunity, I guess.
I really like the Livewire in the sense that I've been riding electric bikes since 2018, 2017. I first started doing them. So I've got a fairly decent grounding in the various different models that are out there. And the Livewire to me felt different to all the other. Like they're all a little bit different, aren't they? Energicas feel different to the way Zeros ride. And you know, the models amongst them, they all have their own little idiosyncrasies and stuff and characters. But the Livewire felt like a Harley somehow. You know, even though it's electric, it still felt like a Harley. And I've got no idea why.
In it.
Yeah. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it did. It's not I didn't think it was the best handling out of them. I still put Energica up there. I think they're probably the best for me personally. But it was a good bike, you know, and it's quite surprising to see that Harley are the ones who've really innovated into the electric field, because that bike's different to a lot of other electric bikes out there. You know, everything's built around the engine. So you can fully customize that bike in the future. How they customize Harleys.
They were quick with it as well, weren't they, compared to other manufacturers that are not, you know, obviously Zero and Energica are purely electric. So in terms of a mainstream manufacturer, Harley were really quick off the mark with it. I don't know. I enjoy riding electric bikes. I like the experience of them. I spend a lot of time riding around country lanes, so I quite like the fact that you stop at a junction and you can hear the birds tweeting, and you got that peacefulness, which is nice sometimes. And the performance of them is staggering.
Mm-hmm.
I had a Zero. I remember I had a Zero SRF, the fared one, and I've been playing around with it, and I put it into beast mode, and I was quite tentative because it's kind of like what has everything with bikes got. There it is now. To just deal with it. And I'd been riding it around, and I'd stopped at the traffic lights, and I stopped next to two guys on sports bikes. One was a ZX9, I think, and I can't remember what the other one might have been, a Blade. And I sort of stopped at the traffic lights, and the two guys sort of looked round at me, and they were like, because I wasn't making a noise.
Yeah.
And they were kind of eyeing the bike up and just not quite sure. And I'd still had it in beast mode, and the lights changed, and I just literally took off.
Yeah.
And I just vanished. And they caught me up at the next set of traffic lights. And the guy on the ZX9 was like, fucking hell, what was that? And he said, I tried to catch up with you, but you'd gone. You were too far away for me to get anywhere near you. And then we stopped to have a chat. And they were amazed by the fact that it made virtually no noise, but the acceleration. But the problem is, I think in beast mode, that bike only had a range of about 40 miles. So you have to use it wisely.
It's sustained high speed that destroys the batteries on electric. It just rinses them for sure. Yeah. I'm doing an around the UK. I don't know if you saw. I did around the UK on a 125.
Yes,
bid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing the same route but on an electric bike.
Oh wow, okay.
Next month. Well, actually, fairly soon. So that's going to be interesting to see. You know, I'm sort of in my head, I'm thinking 4 days. I'm going to try and do it in 4 days. Okay. So it'll be interesting to see if it's going to be possible.
What bike are you doing it on?
It's going to be the Energica, the Rebelli RS.
Okay, yeah.
I wanted to do it on the Ego, you know, their sports bike.
Yes,
just because I did the world trip on a sports bike. It's like, right, because it's not a first. Some geezer has been around the UK, but he took ages to do it. It was like a proper tour. Whereas I'm not stopping. I'm just going
just like bang, bang, bang. Yeah, get it done.
Sleep next to the bike whilst it charges and just keep going.
Yeah,
so I want to do it on the Ego, but they haven't got an Ego available, sadly. So it's going to be the Rebelli.
Yeah, it's still a great bike, and DC charging as well, aren't they? So
they are. Mm-hmm.
That's going to save quite a bit of time, I guess.
If I can find one, because what I've found is a lot of the time they're not working, or they say they're there and you get there and they're not.
Am I right in thinking that the Tesla chargers are now available to use if you're not a Tesla owner?
I've heard from
they
a
are
couple
in some
of people.
countries. I don't know if they've done that in the UK.
I've heard from a couple of people that, you can charge off Tesla now, but when I've had an electric bike, you couldn't. But that is the last time I had an electric bike, probably 2 or 3 months ago. So it may well have changed.
I don't know if this is a new thing, but I've seen a bit on social media where people they're allowing Tesla have just said, well, basically anybody can use the chargers now. Which obviously for the Energica works, but obviously Zeros are still Type 2 chargers, aren't they? They can't use them.
Yeah, they are. Yes, it's a weird decision to do that because you want. I think the thing that holds people back from going electric is A, cost because they're ridiculously expensive, and B, charging. You know, the charge time. So rather than 4 hours, if you can cut that down to 20 minutes, or
exactly.
You know,
and I think that's where it
minutes.
needs to go, isn't it? It's for me. It's not the range. People talk about the range. It's only got 100 miles range. Well, I had a friend that used to have a custom Harley 48.
Yeah.
And after 65, 70 miles, we're looking for a petrol station.
Yeah.
So, little peanut tanks. So the range is a problem. The difference is you could fill it up in 5 minutes and be gone.
Exactly.
So I think once you start to see petrol stations with charging points on, and they're DC charging, and you can charge in 10 or 15 minutes, enough to get you another 80 or 90 miles, then I think that they become much more of a practical machine in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Or
but they work. I know people
batteries
that commute and they use them, and it's enough to get them into work. They plug it in while they're there all day, and then they ride home, and it's costing them pennies.
Yeah, I've said this time and time again on this podcast. I've even had Alec on from English Electric, and we've chatted at length about it. I don't think electric is the answer that we're all looking for, but it's what we're going to get for the foreseeable. Maybe for the rest of our lives, then it's going to be electric. But I think something else is going to come in.
Something needs to. I think the problem with bikes is you've only got so much real estate. Mm-hmm. Cars, you can smack loads of batteries in it. You know, if they go down the hydrogen cell route, you've got room to put stuff in it. With a bike, you don't have that space. The only thing that would be interesting to see is if manufacturers, because so far to make them acceptable, they've made electric bikes look like traditional combustion bikes.
Yeah.
But they're not constrained by having to have a radiator or an exhaust or all of those other bits and pieces. So it'd be interesting to see if manufacturers now start to go, well, actually, let's just tear up the rule book.
Blank canvas, yeah.
And we need a seat, handlebars, 2 wheels, foot pegs, but we can do whatever we need to do inside that. And it'd be interesting to see if how that develops. But again, I think they're very conscious of people, you know. Motorcyclists are traditionalists. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, if there's something too outlandish, some people will like it. But if there's a bike that looks like it's come straight out of Tron, I would probably love that. But there's a lot of people who go, well, no, it doesn't look like a bike. I can't. I'm never going to go down that route. So,
have you seen the Canadian? I think it's a Canadian Damon. Have you seen them?
Yes.
And their bike. I think their bike's effective. Is it 3-in-1? Because the whole geometry of the bike alters depending on what mode you put it in.
Yeah,
so it looks amazing.
Verge is the other one as well. If you've seen Verge,
yeah,
where they've got the hubless rear wheel, which I think is it still freaks me out how that does that. It's just,
and then they've got, is it the British one, Arc? But they're like £90,000. They are top. They're like Bentleys or Aston Martins of the electric one.
I found the same. Everything electric, whether it's an electric car, electric bicycles, particularly. I need to shift some timber, and I don't like going to the gym, and I don't like running. But I used to mountain bike, and I thought I'd get back into that. But being an old fat knacker now, I quite like a bit of an electrical assistance. So you go and have a look at bikes, and it's like. And I'm still there looking at a bike, and the guy's going, well, this is pretty reasonable price, and it's got this and this. And then my head's going, well, I can buy a CRF 250 and go green laning for less than that push bike. And I know that's not the way I should be looking at it, but it's just like there seem to be a huge premium on anything electric at the moment.
Everything at the moment, mate. Everything's gone through the roof at the moment, hasn't it? It's ridiculous. Where do we go from here? Anyway, right, we could go down a proper Robert Warren.
Yeah, we'll end up down a wormhole there if we do that, won't we?
So next one. Cheers for that, Alan. Alan, thank you very much, mate. I was looking over there.
Thank you.
Chris Kemp.
Yeah, I've got to get used to looking in this.
I know. Hi, guys. Hope you're both well. I'll keep it short this week. How were the Egyptian pyramids built? Okay, begin. Tony, over to you.
Very carefully. And very slowly.
Do we want to go down this? Because this could be a podcast in itself.
It could be. I probably don't want to go down this because I'm not an engineer.
I love all this shit.
I love history. I do like history. I listen to a lot of history podcasts. I watch a lot of history TV shows. But yeah, in terms of how they built the pyramids.
I've got a civil engineering honours degree.
Oh, there you go.
Just put it out there. I've never used it, but I've got the degree in it.
Fair enough.
Jesus. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. I listen to Joe Rogan all the time, and he has people on who propose all sorts of ideas behind it, from it's aliens right through to they just had thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people over hundreds and hundreds of years, and they built massive sand ramps and just used brutal manpower to drag these 50, 60 ton perfectly cut.
They would have understood leverage and stuff like that, so they would have had cranes to lift it up. One thing that was interesting that I never realised until I listened to there's a podcast, a BBC podcast called You're Dead to Me.
Yes.
I don't know if you know that one.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Which Greg Jenner was as the guy from Horrible Histories, and I think they did something about Cleopatra, and I'd never really considered it before. But he said when Cleopatra was effectively the leader of the Egyptian Empire, the pyramids were already an ancient monument.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about it, Cleopatra was there, and the pyramids were almost already 1,400, 1,600 years old
Yeah.
When she came on, and that was the first time I'd kind of grasped the depth and the period of time that the Egyptians were kind of doing what they were doing.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, but it's like you look at over in the Americas and the American continent, you know, and you look at all the Inca pyramids that are out there. There's pyramids all over the world, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah.
But it just seems to be like that phase of humanity. It just seemed to effectively. It just seems like it ended. We don't know how they did it, and now we're at a stage where we can do amazing things, but we still don't know how they did it. And you're just like,
yeah. And it's interesting that you've got two continents that would have been completely detached. I assume at that point there was nobody traveling between the two, and yet they've got very similar style buildings of a similar style era.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe there is something in the aliens. I don't know.
I've said it time and time again on here. I wish I smoked the weed, because that sort of stuff. You just need to sit back and open your minds, don't you?
yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I was listening to a podcast today actually, and they were talking about extraterrestrials and whether people believe that they exist or not. And I'm of the opinion that we can't be the only planet that's got life on it. Whether it's life as we would recognize it or not, I don't know. But by just sheer odds, we can't be the only ones out there.
Have you seen that new telescope they have that's just come online and starting to beam back images from deep space? It's basically, it's like the Hubble, but on steroids.
Oh, wow. Okay. No.
Like the Hubble's 20 odd years or 30 odd years old now, isn't it? So it's technology which has advanced in that length of time.
Okay.
And in this telescope, and it's now sending back like deeper images and clearer images of deep space than we've ever seen before. And it's
I'll have to,
like they've got pictures now. They've put them on Instagram, so they'll have the Hubble telescope sort of image, and then they'll put a comparison next to it of this new telescope or this new whatever it is satellite up there. And the depth of detail, it's like HD, like HD compared to old traditional 680 blooming or 640 resolution. It's just like, wow, you can see so much more. I think it's totally right. We can't be the only ones there for sure.
No, definitely not. But I do know the Earth is flat, so that's one.
Well, that's it. Yeah, that is true. That is
everybody knows that. It's just like just kidding yourself if you think any other way.
And next one. Cheers for that, Chris. Next one, Alan Duncan again. Another one. Follow up to that question. Where would you take a bike if you had the opportunity? Oh, where would you take a bike if you had the opportunity?
Depends if I can get access to anywhere. There's quite a few celebrities that I'd like to go and visit.
Oh, God.
That's probably another. That's another option. That's another. Yeah. Then we go down that route. Where would I take it? Wow. I've got a route planned, which I started planning in 2019, and then I couldn't do it in 2020, couldn't do it in 2021, didn't get around to it this year. So I might try and do that next year. And that's a trip across Europe to visit a site where my father was a prisoner of war.
Oh, wow.
My father had me late in life, and I'm an old fogey as well. So my father served in World War II. He was in the parachute regiment. He was captured in an operation in Sicily and ended up going to a prisoner of war camp in Poland, which I've recently discovered, or within the last few years, that camp is portions of that camp are still there.
Wow.
And it's now the Polish Prisoner of War Museum. So there are original huts and original parts of that were there from World War II. And so that's a place that I really do need to go and visit. We looked at flying out to Warsaw and doing all of that. And then a few years ago, I was like, well, why don't I just ride my bike there?
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. So I kind of planned a route to go through Germany, across into Poland, visit the site, spend a day or two there, and then drop down into the Czech Republic and then come back kind of through the Alps and do that. So that's something that's on my bucket list. I've probably run out of time to do it this year with other commitments because it's going to be probably October at the earliest I can do that. And I think once you start getting into the high passes in the Alps, October time onwards can start to get a little bit tricky.
Mid-October, yeah. Mid-October, certainly in Switzerland. Mid-October, you'd be pushing it by then.
Yeah, it might be okay. But what I think is probably safer to do, and that doesn't give me a lot of time to plan it, is to look at, April, May, or May of next year, something like that. But yeah, that I'd love to do that. I'd like to ride in Croatia again. I did that a few years ago.
Beautiful, isn't it?
That's a fantastic place to go and run. I don't know if you've been out there. You haven't? Yeah. And I love it there. The roads are good. There's nobody on them. And it's a beautiful place as well. So
it is.
Definitely like that. And I'd still like to do a US coast to coast. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I think I'd like to do the roads less travelled.
Oh, yeah? What, off-road?
Yeah, some off-road, some of the whatever is it, the North American Trail or whatever they call it. I can't remember what they call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and just I'd like to do that coast to coast without using any freeways, and just visit some of the smaller places.
Yeah, my wife and I love to do that. We were we'd got into the habit of doing that. We got a load of mates over in the States, so we'd just fly over, hire a big truck, and then just do like a 10-day, 2-week road trip, and just do no motorway, just all back roads, and it was awesome. You see so much more, and the state. I love the States because it's so varied, it's so massive, and it's so varied.
It is unbelievable. It's just like the difference in the terrain, across that country is unbelievable. So
yeah. I was supposed to be doing a tour of America this year, actually, but sadly it didn't happen. Are you're self-employed now, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
I got stung by the tax man, in the sense of I'm not hiding from the tax man. I was declaring everything, but what I didn't realise was your first year on accounts, when you pay your tax for that first year, you have to pay 200%. I didn't know that. So you get your tax bill, and then they go, we need the same again. We need 50% again, and then you have to pay the next 50%, like in June or July, whenever it was. I was just like, oh my God. So I basically wiped out my battle fund for this year.
I've literally just paid a corporation, because I've set up a limited company, so I do
have you? Right.
Company.
Yeah, I've not done that.
And I've just had to pay a corporation tax bill, which was due in July, but I never got a reminder. And then when I spoke to my accountant, that sounds a bit posh, doesn't it? When I spoke to the lady that does my accounts, she was like, I don't think they send you reminders anymore. I was like, no, they haven't. All they sent me was the thing saying you haven't paid your corporation tax, and you're now paying 11 pence per day interest. Oh, thanks very much.
Yeah.
So I just paid out £1,100 of corporation tax today, which made a bit of a dent. But there you go.
You cannot hide from the tax man.
No. And it's all very one-sided. When you have to pay them immediately, but when you get a rebate, they send you a check in about 6 weeks. Yeah. If you have to pay them, you've got to pay it instantly online.
Yeah, we want it now. Give us it now. And if you don't have it now, we'll have your house.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Right. Cheers for that, Alan. Next one, Lee Vigor. How you doing, Lee? Hello to you both. Hope you're well. Tony, hope your leg is feeling better after you're off at the ABR.
Yeah, it's all good now. Thank you.
Question to both. Who would be your number one motorcycle manufacturer to work with, and why? Now Lee's a big Triumph man. He's a big Triumph man. Okay. What about you? Who would be your favourite manufacturer to work with?
Not Triumph. No, I'm kidding. Who would it be, or who is it in that sense?
Who would it be?
I mean, Triumph are up there.
Who is it?
Triumph are up there in the sense that they push a lot of buttons for me, because I like classic bikes, but I like classic looking bikes. But having had classic cars and old classic Volkswagens for years, they're just a pain in the arse to use. So I like the fact that they've got the modern classics range, and it's not just a token effort. You've got I'll be careful, a Speed Twin 900, which is the street twin that I had. Then you can get a scrambler version of that. You can go for the 1200. You've got the bobber. There's not just kind of a retro offering or a modern classic offering. So there's a lot of that. Plus you've got the adventure bikes. Plus you've got the things like the street triple and the speed triple. I mean, they're in terms of their range, there's something for everyone. I think in there.
Triumph seem to be chucking out a new model or a new version of a model. I want to say during quarantine, during lockdown and stuff, it felt like it was every week or every 2 weeks they're chucking out. There's another press pack. Jesus, how many bikes have they got?
Yeah, they've slowed it down, and there's a slight confusion. I'm interested with the change now that they've gone with the Speed Twin 900 and Scrambler 900, and they've lost that street name. Now, I don't know if that's just that they've decided to streamline the brand. They did that with the Tigers, didn't they? Because it was always confusing with the XRT and the XCA and all that business.
Yeah.
So whether it's a simplification of that, or it does make you wonder if there is another, if the street is going to reappear somewhere as a slightly different machine, lower capacity maybe, or I don't know.
Wouldn't put it past them.
I won't put it past them, but Triumph would be one that would be out there as a brand to work with. In terms of working with brands, currently I've found Honda to be really good. Mm-hmm. Initially, when I first started working with various manufacturers, I thought Honda would be the most corporate and the most difficult. But the absolute opposite of that is the case, I think. They seem to be more relaxed than many other manufacturers. Yeah, in terms of press fleet.
I've found Honda have been the most eager when I've contacted them, but I find none of them, me personally, none of the manufacturers contact me. I find I have to contact them.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And I do find Honda are probably the best for replying.
Yeah, and there's some manufacturers that I respond to. I've not done anything with Yamaha on my channel because I just don't. I know that Mark Potter at Potski Media looks after them, but I just don't have an in there. Kawasaki have always come back and said we only deal with mainstream media.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's easing now, but
I think there's a. Sorry to interrupt. I think there's a definite swing at the moment in the PR world, and they're definitely favouring women at the moment for sure. Yeah. And I think they're sort of moving from YouTube more to Instagram and into TikTok. They're trying. I think they're trying to engage with a younger audience. That's the impression I'm getting. Yeah.
I mean,
certainly Potski Media, that seems to be what they're doing at the moment.
And I often say, and I don't mean it horribly when I say it, but I am very much of the male, pale and stale variety when it comes to that, because although that at the moment that's the demographic that are spending the money. If you're going to spend
exactly
25 grand on a bike, a 20-year-old is not going to do that. Some might, but majority of them are not going to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the 45 plus group that are going to do that. So you could appeal to that. But equally, a young, attractive female, and I'm not being facetious when I say that, would also attract that,
of course,
marketplace. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's important, I think, to get more. Well, it's to get more coverage. The number of women riders is increasing year on year, which is a great thing. And I think you're right. I think manufacturers need to attract a younger audience, and that younger audience is not going to be necessarily interested in my view or my opinions on a particular product.
No, I get you on that. Yeah, I totally agree. To be honest, it annoys me.
I'd just like to see. And there are a lot of good. There's a few that I'm not so keen on, but majority of them are pretty good. Of the if you say the younger generation that are coming through, I just hope you don't see a kind of a draw towards more fluffy pieces, where maybe I'm just being cynical. Is whether the PR companies would want to go down the route of using people that are happy to regurgitate the press release.
That's how I feel,
rather than put their own opinions out. And I don't want to be cynical like that. And I don't think that is the case at the moment, because I see a lot of great, really good younger creators.
I think it is. Personally, I think it is. I'm putting my head on the block there, but that's how I feel at the moment. I do feel like, well, I mean, I've been blacklisted by loads of the PR companies anyway, so fuck it. But I do think I don't want to get sucked into this by osmosis. Yeah, I know. I do think that's the case at the moment. I think there's a lot of the PR blurb being sort of molded into content based around social media under somebody's brand. I think there's quite a bit of that at the moment.
Yeah, there are some brands, and again, they will remain nameless. There's some brands where my relationship has not deteriorated; it's just stagnated. And I look at the content that's coming out with their bikes, and it is much more influencer styled than that.
Vacuous shite.
Yeah. And you've got to be careful. I mean, you've got to be careful. I always try to be balanced, but I've noticed a couple of reviews I did on a couple of bikes. And I wasn't necessarily negative, but I was just pointing out bits that I thought, well, this is wrong. There's one bike in particular, which people will probably work out, but I'm not going to mention it. But I was like, it's a great bike, but they've just gone overboard with the suspension. They've put top-end Öhlins suspension on, which is just far too harsh for the road. And I know you can adjust it, but you can only adjust it so much. And I backed everything off. And on the broken surfaces and the bumpy country lanes, it was like, it's thrilling, but it's only thrilling because I feel like I'm going to die. If I push it any harder than I am pushing it, I'm not particularly pushing it.
Yeah, I might know the bike you're talking about, actually. Yeah.
Yellow, and it was okay. It's got a particular style, and gold forks and yellow Öhlin springs don't go with that style, but there was certainly a cool. It appeared to me, and I might be picking that up wrong, and I might have just put my head on the block as well, but there seemed to be a little bit of a cooling in the relationship sort of post that.
You're never sure though if it's just in your own head, are you? With
exactly, and it's easy to think about that, and I think the problem is there's a lot more, even in the time that I've been, there's a lot more people now doing this.
Oh yeah.
So the PR companies have got a bigger pool to fish in. And it's probably just the case that there's just so many people out there now, and it's a numbers-driven game, really, largely, isn't it?
It is. It's quite an exciting time, though, because it certainly, for me personally, it's making me think, right, what can I do that sort of is different and sets me apart from others?
Exactly. Yeah.
But I don't want to do, I don't want to go down the vacuous shite road. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to go down just the clickbait, ridiculous stuff that some.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, it certainly makes you think about, upping your game in terms of your content. Mm-hmm. But there's some you'll never compete with. I've watched channels where, and it's very difficult to say. It's very difficult because it's very hard to say something. I'm not being negative about if I pick something. If I just pick, for example, female content creators, it's very easy to make it look like you're a disgruntled, grumpy, old, middle-aged white man.
Totally,
that's not the case. But there are some where I'll spend 2 days putting stuff, and I'll admit my content might not be for everybody, and you might have more of a rose-tinted view on your own content than you would necessarily see. But I can see things where I spend a lot of time, 2 or 3 days filming, 2 or 3 days editing. I'll pore over it to make sure I've got all the stats right. I've got everything there. I'll give a considered view. And then somebody will wash a bike in a bikini top and get 10 times the amount of... I did actually suggest, and I was talking to Richie about this, that myself, you, Andy and Richie should get together and we should do a kind of a bike wash video.
Mate, we spoke about it.
In Budgie Smugglers.
Let's do it.
Soap suds, slow motion, wet skin. But I think we'd probably be attracting the wrong audience.
Is there a wrong audience?
Well,
I've said this before on the podcast. I did a review of the Case winter gloves, the heated gloves, and the opening sequence was I did it during the winter when it was snowing outside, and I'm naked in my garden, like hands over my credentials, right? So it was an opening sequence.
One hand or two hands?
I could probably get away with. I could get away with my pinky, but I had two hands. It's about 4 or 5 seconds, and I lost like I can't remember how many, but I lost a big chunk of subscribers.
Yeah.
That's the impact that has.
There's an element of pushing yourself and change and putting out new content, but there's also an element of staying in your lane, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and trying to do, and that's where I've floundered in the past, where I've tried to do too many different things.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's like, actually, let's just sit back and see what it is that people like. And generally, for me, people like the no nonsense, pretty straightforward, relaxed delivery.
Yeah.
With a considered view. And it's like, okay, that's going to appeal to some people. It's not going to appeal to everybody. So yeah, I'll do that and appeal to the people that it appeals to.
Definitely. I think consistent, constant growth is probably far better than great big sudden spikes, because you get a sudden spike, and if you don't continue that momentum, then, as you said earlier, the algorithm just looks at it and goes, we've got a big spike, we're sending all these people, but those people, it's going to people that aren't really connecting with the channel.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd say most of them don't bother watching anymore. They don't subscribe. And then the algorithm just goes, okay. And then your reach actually goes down, doesn't it? And you have to build back to where you were before that peak.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I take comfort in when I look at my analytics, is that, I have been doing this. I think I've been doing it for longer than a lot of people initially imagine. But I've seen a pretty organic growth. If you look at from when I started the channel, my growth of subscribers and views is pretty much a constant climb. Yeah, there's no massive spikes, there's no big dips. It's just growing and growing and growing. And I quite like the fact that that's what it is. It shows me that there is the organic interest there. The reach isn't maybe as big as it could be, but it's one of those things. You can hang your hat on all of this, and hackers could shut YouTube down, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're on 40 or 50,000 subs now, aren't you?
42,000, I think.
Mate, that's an insane amount of people when you look at it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It's easy to look. 42,899, and it's easy to go, oh, that's not that many. When you look at that and you go, well, that's like, I'm a Chelsea fan, so it's like that's Stamford Bridge full up of people that are choosing to subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's incredible. It's amazing. It's just like, yeah. So how people that have got millions must feel, I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like, I don't know about you, but like my sort of sights are set on that 100,000. Yes, and it's not like I've got to get it. But you're like, I want that. I want that. It's for me, it's I'd like 30-odd thousand away.
Silver plaque up there.
Yeah, I just want to put it in my toilet. Job done.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just to get Andy, to that.
TMF, he's got his plaque in his toilet.
Oh, is it?
He does. Yeah. Well, I just want that. Anyway, Lee's got a second question, mate. What's the one piece of motorcycle kit you couldn't wait to get your hands on, but once you did, it left you feeling let down?
Oh, wow, that's a really good question.
Wow. Wow.
I thought it was going to go the other way, because I thought he was going to ask what's the one piece of motorcycle kit that I've got and I now can't live without.
Yeah. That tends to be a question we get, yeah.
Yeah, that is a really good question. Piece of kit that I couldn't wait to get hold of, and then it really let me down.
Oh, I've got it.
I'd have to think about that.
I've got it. I can tell you mine.
Go on then.
The Drift Ghost 4K when it came out. That camera.
Oh, yeah, that's a good call. Actually,
I loved the Ghost S. I was a Drift ambassador. I loved the Ghost S, and then they brought out that 4K, and I thought, awesome! It's gonna kill GoPro, because I was having nothing but issues with GoPro, and it was just like a bag of shit. Don't want it anymore. They brought out that Ghost 4K, and it was utter dog shit. It was horrendous.
Yeah, it was like recording on a potato, wasn't it?
The firmware was shit. The reliability was shit. The video quality was shit. It was just crap.
Yeah.
So I'm not a Drift ambassador anymore.
No, I'm just trying to think anything that's. No, not really. I've had some stuff that I had some kit sent through to me that I ended up not reviewing, but that was only because I went back to the distributor and saying, I can review this, but you won't like the review.
Right.
So, and I'm not going to filter it, but I'm going to give you the option.
Are you going to say who that was?
Yeah, it was Blower.
Who's that?
Which is a bit of a weird brand, But they sent me a motorcycle jacket to review, and then when it's from our urban range, it's all really cool. And it arrived, and it felt like a wind cheater with armor in.
Right.
And this was kind of just pre-CE days.
Yeah.
But the thing that threw it for me is and I counted them, it had 13 buttons on the front to do it up, traditional buttons. And I was like, I went back to him and said, I'm not being funny, but I don't know any single motorcyclist that wants a jacket with buttons, a proper buttonholes. It had a zip behind it, but unless you did the buttons up, you had a flappy bit. And I was just like, I can review it, but you're really not going to like it.
It's form over function, isn't it?
And they kind of said, yeah, okay, send it back.
Yeah.
And I said, I can do it, but I'd rather not I don't want to do a review to slate it. Because I don't think it's a review I needed to do, because I think most people would look at that and go, I'm not buying that.
Yeah.
Straight off the bat, they'd be like, well, why would I've got gloves on. It's bad enough trying to get a zip puller to do that. And that's another bug of mine is motorcycle jackets that put tiny little zip pullers on.
Yeah. No, I get you. Yeah, big chunky they seem to forget that we were in great big gloves a lot of the time.
Yeah. And actually, I've been riding in a Halverson's Narron jacket, which is a really good jacket, 2-layer laminate, vented. It's got an Outlast liner, so you can wear it in temperature. I wore it in Biarritz up to about 27 degrees with the vents open. It was fine. Yeah. And I've worn it down to about 12 degrees when we were up in the Pyrenees, and it was fine. But I've had to put. You can see those zip pulls you can buy. I've had to put those on all the zips because the zip pullers are about that big.
Yeah.
And you're riding along and I want to open my vents. And I'm like, well, I've either got to stop and take my gloves off, or I've got to play with myself for half an hour until I can get
along, touching yourself
thing open. And that's going to be in the review. I'm going to wear it when it's a bit colder. But that's going to be the first thing in the review is just like this a simple thing, and it's going to cost the manufacturer pennies to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But just put a decent, either a puller or a big ring tab on a zip.
But it makes you wonder, like when manufacturers design this stuff, and surely before it goes out on production and it's marketed, surely somebody must be wearing it out on a bike. And why is nobody going, that needs bigger tags?
You would think so. And it's but it's whether they get wrapped up in everything else that they don't think about. They don't consider those sort of things. There's a couple of manufacturers that I really like in terms of gear. Revit are one, because I think they're really well thought out, and it's not an advert for them. I just think they're really well thought out, and it does appear that they get tested very well before anything comes to market.
Yeah.
And Climb are the other one as well that do that. They're all riders. And everything's very well thought out. And there's nothing about those jackets that I kind of go, would have missed the trick there, because it could do that and it could do that. They tend to, if anything, over-engineer them compared to others. I've never worn any of either. Never tried Revit, never tried Climb. I spent my own money on a Rucker suit, which I love. It's the best bit of kit I've ever worn. But then I just found out at the ABR festival, a couple of fellow patrons, actually, Rebecca, thank you very much for coming up for a chat. But they came up and they pointed out that the Rucker kit, even the top of the range Navala suit that I've got, excuse me, it's got the very basic like slide resistance rating. It's just an A rating. It's not. Yeah. And you think, well, this is a top of the range suit. Why has it not got like the best slide rating that you can get? I think Climb's actually better. Yeah, but you've got to pay for it. So I think the only Climb suit that's got a AAA rating, I might be wrong, is the Badlands Pro. That's like £1,700 for the jacket.
Well, yeah, I was $2,000. I paid $2,000 for the suit.
For the suit, which I think, and that's fine. If you're going out every Sunday morning for an hour's ride, I can't see the point. If you're riding around the world, or you're a courier, or you're riding all day, every day, all weathers, it's a fantastic investment.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and they certainly do the business. But you're right. No, I've got a Wolf Moto textile suit, which I love. It's comfortable. It's a kind of a laminate. It keeps you dry. It's got a wool lining, so in the winter it's great. It's got really comfy salopette style trousers, so I can get my big fat belly inside them and zip them up to my nipples, and it's great. And then when you look at it, that's a single A. But yeah, I bought recently a Merlin Chigwell light jacket, mesh jacket for the warm weather, which is largely mesh, but that's a double A rated.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's another. Merlin seems to be on the rise at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of stuff around their kit at the moment.
Yeah, they're doing well. I was amazed at this. It's the most meshy of. It's got kind of that Kotex sort of wax cotton finish up the arms and then and across the shoulders and stuff. Full D3O armor. But yeah, to get a mesh jacket that looks classic styled, but to get that through with a double A rating, I think is really good. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Right, Tony, pee break. You all right for a pee break? We'll come back.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Yeah.
I'm starting to tap dance here.
Okay. Are you standing up as well? Are you on a standing?
I've got a standing desk. Yeah.
I'm merging into the seat, but yeah, I need a top up as well. So
right. See you in a couple of minutes then.
Okay. It was my birthday yesterday, and we went out for something to eat. My son didn't finish his meal, so he brought it home in a doggy bag, and it was still in the fridge, so I've just nicked some of it.
Nice one. Well, happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you very much.
Is that 21 again?
More than twice, unfortunately. Such is life.
Right, awesome. Jeez, I've just gone. We've just had a little pee break there, folks, and I've gone outside. It is so cool outside this office. I've come back in here. It's 29 degrees in here at the moment. Jesus Christ!
I might open my windows again to see if the planes have stopped.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Right, we might have to pick the pace up here because there's quite a few questions.
Yeah, we've got lots to get through. I've just realised how long we've been going.
Yeah, I know. It's all 2 hours now at the moment.
I know, blimey.
Right, next one. Cheers, Lee. Thanks for those questions, pal. Next one, Paul Creasy. Hi, both. Two great channels that have provided me with hours of entertainment. Thanks very much, man.
That's very good.
Questions for Tony. Question one. You've reviewed lots of gear over the episode, but is there one favourite that if the manufacturers wanted all the gear back, you would insist on buying?
Yes. And that would be my ultimate hearing protection custom molded earplugs.
Right.
Absolute revelation to me. I've got very narrow ear canals, apparently, which their audiologist told me. And I suffer from, I used to listen to a lot of loud music when I was younger, nightclubs and bass bins and all sorts of stuff. So my hearing's not the best. I've always struggled with foam earplugs. I could just never get them in. I'd squish them in, get one in, and it was always my left ear. I'd get it in and I'd go, that's great. And after about 15, 20 minutes on the bike, it was like my ear was going and spitting it out, and it would just sit there and it wouldn't do anything. And then I met the guys, and I met the guy from Ultimate Hearing, whose name is Dave. Met him at a show and was talking about that, and I said, I really need to get some stuff done and what have you. And then he discovered I had the YouTube channel, and he was like, well, we'll do you a deal. Actually, I did pay for it, but I didn't get it for free. He said, but we'll do you a deal if you want to kind of mention them. So I was like, great. And I did a video showing the process of having the moldings taken and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And they have just, for me, revolutionized riding in the sense of just they fit perfectly, they do the job, and I never go anywhere without them.
So are they just
that would be
earplugs?
The one thing that I would happily cough up my own money for time and time again.
Right. Are they just earplugs, or are they monitors as well, like speakers?
They do various ones. So the ones I've got are the squidgies. Well, I've got a couple of pairs actually now. I've gone on to, so I've got like squidgies.
Yeah.
I've got two types. These are ported. I've got ones that are unported. These are ported, so they let a little bit more sound through. And then I have got a set with an auxiliary plug on, which I can plug into a comms unit. Mm-hmm. So I've got them as monitors as well. And again, that's fantastic because what you tend to find is you put those in and then you turn your comms up to hear it, and it kind of defeats the object.
Yeah.
So having molded earplugs that block out a lot of that background noise or a lot of the wind noise, but then still have a feed in for the comms units. You can turn the comms unit down to 1 or 2 and you can still hear perfectly.
Oh, okay.
For me, that's the one piece. That's where I thought the question was going earlier on. And that's the one thing that I think has just been the best accessory that I've ever had and used.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm a bit like you. I'm definitely noticing I'm starting to go deaf. I've had a number of different sort of earplug things provided over the years, and it's my own fault, but I very rarely ever wear them, to be honest. Because a lot of the time when I'm out reviewing bikes, I want to hear the engine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want to be hearing it, so I just don't wear them.
The biggest problem I find is actually when I'm wearing them, I talk louder. So if I've got a mic in the helmet, if I haven't got it, I've got a good internal monitor of how loud I'm talking. And with the earplugs in, I tend to find that I'm talking at the same level that to hear myself, and actually it's peaking on the audio because I'm talking too loudly.
Yeah, gotcha.
So I've had to kind of rein that in a bit.
Paul's got a second question. Given the choice of any one bike for everyday use and weekend fun, what would be in your garage? Well, we kind of covered that earlier, didn't we?
We kind of covered that. Yeah, it would be Africa Twin or Super Duke. Or get another Honda. And I never thought I would be a Honda fan necessarily. I don't have any affiliation to any brand really, but the CB 1000R I think is a phenomenal road bike as well, for a bit of everything. It's not as sharp and as aggressive as some, but in terms of neutral handling, smooth engine, comfortable, yeah, that's a really good one too.
I had a big list in with Honda actually for this year, and they gave me the NT1100, and I've never had anything else from them since. So
really?
I don't know if I upset anyone with that or not.
No, I think they've been under pressure a little bit with stuff. I know they just did the Adventure Roads. So they took there's the Honda Adventure Roads. So you can basically sign up and they do a tour, and they did 10 days around Iceland. And as a punter, you cough up whatever it was, 2.5, 3 grand, but they fly you out there, and then they provide the bike, and they can provide you with the kit, and then they you go on the tour, and they take your luggage with you and all that sort of stuff. So it looks like a really good, apparently quite a challenging route as well. Watching some of the videos online, some of the river crossings were quite tricky by the looks of it. But I was just talking to a guy from Honda last week. I think he said they took 46 Africa Twins out to Iceland.
Jesus.
So he said it's like cleared out basically all of the press fleet in the UK and Europe and a couple of other places, and they've pulled some in from dealers, I think, to get that done. That's a massive undertaking, isn't it, to get that many bikes out there?
Just a bit. Wow. Bloody hell. Right. Next question is from Colonel Bullen. Sorry, I was just pre-reading that.
Okay.
I think it's similar. What a great guest, Bruce. Question for you both. If you had to choose 2 bikes, one for everyday use as a workhorse and one for weekend fun, what would they be? Okay, so 2, not just 1, 2.
Without risk of sounding boring, it's probably going to be an Africa Twin for everything and a Super Duke R for fun.
I'd join you on the Super Duke R, and I'd have the GS for the workhorse.
See, I've not spent that much time. I've hardly ridden a GS actually. BMW are one of the brands that I hadn't done anything with, and then I kind of got the opportunity to do something, and they were going to give me an R18 for a week or so. And it just, something happened with my diary, and I had to sort of say, I'm really sorry, I can't now pick that bike up on that date. And it might just be a coincidence, but subsequently nothing's ever happened since then.
I'm the same, to be honest. I hear nothing from BMW anymore at all. I think the last one I did was the R18, and that's probably why I've never heard from them again.
Oh, right, okay.
BMW at the moment seem to strike me as somebody that's definitely aiming at the younger market, and they're going to a different. Yeah,
that makes sense. And there's I'd love to spend. I've ridden a GSA for a little bit, and I did a training course, like a advanced machine skills, I think it was called, on an airfield, and one of the instructors had a GSA that he'd just picked up, and then at lunchtime I was kind of nosing around the bike. And he was like, well, if you want to go and take it around the airfield while we're having lunch, go and have a spin on it. And but after getting used to it feeling like a skidoo, because it was just, I'd never ridden anything that was that wide before. I was like, oh my God. And I loved it, and I've never spent more time on it. But there's an element of me saying, well, I could get a GS. Yeah, I could ask BMW for a GS, and they'd probably be happy with some content. But there's nothing I can add that nobody's ever not said about the GS before.
No, I get that. Yeah. No, I get that. But then it's somebody else that's given their 10 pence worth, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. It would be interesting from a non-GS fan to actually spend some time on it. Would be probably an interesting view of it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not for everybody. It's 100%. It's not for everybody. You know, like,
no. It's another one of those bikes that I think they're the top sellers as they are for a good reason. It is a very good bike. It's another bike that I look at, and it doesn't really make me salivate when I look at them.
No, I get that. Yeah,
there's better riding. All the KTMs largely, I love them, but I've not ridden a KTM that I've not absolutely really thoroughly enjoyed riding. But I still don't like looking at them.
See, the Super Ducar's the exception to me. That bike makes me turn around and look at it.
It does. It'd just be nice if they did it all. Well, the blue was quite nice, I think, that they did on that. Yeah, but it'd be quite interesting to do. One thing I did do, I had a 890 Duke standard, not the R, and that came with an Acra, and it was in the black, so it had very minimal colouring on it. And actually, that bike I think looks quite nice in that colour scheme. It's just that waspy sort of headlight that I'm not that keen on.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Right, next one, Louise. Sorry, who was that? That was Colonel. Thanks, Colonel. Cheers for that, pal. Next one, Louise Worsfold. Evening. 2 questions. Time travel's been invented, and you can go back to any time period you want with the knowledge and skills you possess today. Which one are you choosing, and what part of history are you changing? I love these type of questions.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
If I was thinking for personal gain, I'd just go back to kind of mid-80s. When I was a kid, I had an encyclopedic knowledge of football.
Right.
And this is a little bit kind of Back to the Future, but I just go back to a point where I can place loads of bets on the most obscure things. History is history is one of my things that I really like, and there's so many time frames to go to. For me, it would probably be medieval London.
Oh yeah.
I think there's something. I used to work in London. I've always been interested in the growth and history of London. My mother's family are all East London people. And that, for me, that kind of period of time, 15th century, 14th, 15th century, kind of around then would be what would be. I'd love to be able to just go back and walk the streets of London at that period, just to experience that. Good question.
A brutal period in history, though.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, very incredibly difficult.
I think we'd be lucky to last a week before we just crumbled of disease.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's bad enough if you go to it's bad enough staying at a Premier Inn for a couple of nights. It's going back to that, but yeah, that for me, that would be the thing that I'd really love to see. What life was like, and I kind of like moving out of that into a lot of my relations, or a lot of my ancestors worked on the river, on the Thames, in the sort of 19th century, early 19th century to mid 19th century, and they lived in a very poor part of Limehouse. Kind of where they lived was on, coloured in black on the Booths property map, on the Booths poverty map. So I'd kind of like to go back to that. There's something about that sort of East End docks kind of area in the 1850s that I think is interesting as well.
Yeah. No,
I don't know if you've seen this. I don't know if you've seen the series Taboo.
No.
With so that was set in a similar time. It's got Tom Hardy in it, who plays the character. And there's, you got the East India Company that are all powerful, and there's a lot of that, and that's kind of set in that period. So that's quite interesting. What about yourself?
It's a difficult one because there's lots of periods in history that I'd like to go back just to see. just to be a bit of a voyeur and just sit there and look, as you just said. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ancient Rome. I'd love to go back to the Highland days. I'd love to go back to prehistoric days and see dinosaurs. But this one, going back with the skills and knowledge you possess today, I don't think there's no point historically that I'd like to go back in, because I just think we've arrived at this amazing point in human history where we're capable so many amazing, there's horrible things going on, but we've got amazing stuff going on. I wouldn't want to do anything that mucked that up.
No, exactly. So it's an interesting. I didn't really think of. I was just thinking about points in history that I go back to. I didn't really think about that question fully in terms of going back with the knowledge and skills that you've got to change anything.
I think for me, just on a personal basis, I would like to go back to me in my late teens, in my rugby days, just to go knuckle down at it, put another 5 years in, and see where you go. Because I know now I was at a good level in those days, and I think I could have gone further than what I did, and I kind of regret just taking the easy option and beer and women. I wish I'd just carried on and knuckled down.
There's lots of points in time that I could go back to and have a word with yourself and just go, actually, if you just do that. Yeah. I'm just going to shut the windows again because
no dramas. Louise has a second question.
Okay, Louise.
What's the worst bit of kit or product you've been asked to review, and have you refused?
Yeah, the Blower one, the Blower jacket was probably the worst, I would say, in that. Generally, though, because some companies approach you, as you will vouch for, I'll get 3 or 4 emails a week from somebody in China or India.
Oh, yeah.
That wants me to review a cycling helmet, or I got one about a watch company.
We think you're such a great. We've been watching your channel. We think you're such a great fit, and we've got these cosmetics which we think would be ideal.
Yeah.
Like, what?
I haven't worn a watch
fitness
for about
kit,
4 years.
fitness clothing, and I'm like, really?
Yeah, and they're just obviously the spam or whatever it might be. But generally, for me, the approach will come from me. So I'll see something that looks interesting, and I'll approach the company and go, "This is what I do. This is what I've got. If you're interested in having some kind of content around this, I'd be more than happy to look at that and then have a chat." So generally, that's why there's never anything that's hugely negative, because most of the stuff that I review is stuff that I've got an interest in.
Yeah, got you.
So I'm already thinking, and sometimes you get surprised by things you think are good, and they turn out to be not so good. Or there's logistical issues. I've got a Schubert, first ever Schubert helmet I've reviewed, sat here, Schubert C5. Their Schubert sizing's not quite right for me, so I need a thinner lining. The helmet's incredibly customizable in terms of the linings and everything you can put in. Schubert don't have any of those linings. So I've had the helmet sitting here for about 3 months. And just with the supply chain issues, they just can't get the extra linings in. So I've not done anything with it. So it will go on my head, but after about half an hour, I've got a headache. And all I need to do is shave, put the 3 millimeter thinner skull cap in, and it'd be spot on. So there's issues like that from time to time, but
never tried a Schubert myself.
No, I hadn't. And it was only that I bumped into a guy at the NEC, and I was looking at them, and we were talking, and I gave him my details, and it turned out that the person I was talking to is the PR guy from the distributor, who, instead of saying, "Oh well, yeah, go away," he was like, "Oh, actually, let's do something." He'd had a look at I like doing helmet reviews, and one of the things of all motorcycling gear, helmet reviews are the things that I really enjoy doing. Is something about crash helmets that since I was a kid, I've always like them for some reason, and so I quite like doing the reviews, and I think subsequently, because I enjoy doing them, I think the content is better than on some of my other stuff, and so it's become quite
your thing. It's become your thing.
Yeah, it's one of my things. So, and thankfully the numbers are good enough to back that up. So there's a couple of 70, 80, 100,000 view helmet reviews. Wow. And so that kind of works. And it was just pure luck that the person I was speaking to at the show happened to be the main guy in charge of that and was like, okay, well, we'll get one out to you and you can do your stuff with it. But
brilliant.
It's the way it goes, isn't it? It's meet the right person at the right time, and
absolutely, yeah, definitely. As you said, it's getting the person that makes the decision, isn't it? It's getting
the economic buyer is the person you need to find.
Right, next one. Average bikers in a cave. All right, boys, how you doing? Evening, fellow cave dweller Tony and Bruce. Loving the channel. Our two-part question is this: you both review a lot of products, not just bikes. What is the product that has most surprised you? Okay, it's another angle on that then.
Most surprised me.
Either positive or negative.
I'm just thinking more recently. Most surprised you. That Merlin Chigwell light jacket, I think, surprised me. I've tried mesh jackets in the past, and nothing has flowed air quite as well as that has.
Right.
And also to have, I'll caveat that by saying to do that and have the safety rating that it's got.
Yeah. Yeah, it's double A, did you say?
Mesh jackets, B, single B or something. But to the point that I had it a few weeks ago when we first started getting the warm weather. And I went out for a drink. A friend of mine had lost a friend, actually, had a heart attack, and he was in a bit of a dark place. So I said, well, we'll go for a ride, and we'll find a nice country pub out in Suffolk, and we'll have a nice ride out. And it was kind of mid-20s, and I put this thing on with a T-shirt underneath, and it was absolute bliss. Coming home, once the sun had gone in, and the temperature dropped to about 17 degrees, I was absolutely frozen by the time I got back, and it made me realise that actually there's not many jackets that I've done that have done that. So in terms, that surprised me, I think, in just how well it flowed air and still offered a double A protection.
Gotcha. I think for me, the most surprising, it's going to be this. The Insta-One X2.
Okay, yep.
The 360 camera, because I used the Insta-One X originally, and it was okay, but I just wasn't massively impressed with it. Yeah. Oh, you got the new one.
No, I think it's not the new one. This has just got lens guards on it.
Oh, is that all it is? That's the One X2 then, is it?
That's the One X2.
Gotcha.
It's got lens guards. You probably can't see because this won't focus in enough.
It's out of focus. Oh, you've
grey. There's a big greys across the top there. This is the second one. I ground the corner off completely because I had it out, forgot about it, went around the corner and went, and ground that off. And I had a 1R, which just fell off the back of a Goldwing and got completely trashed.
Yeah.
I've learned two things: lens guards and tethers.
Yeah, I've got to admit I don't use the tether. I need to start using tethers, but I've only ever lost a camera once. Actually, no, that's bollocks. Twice. Once was in Morocco and I didn't even realise it'd come off. And the second time I did know it'd come off and I managed to get the camera back.
Okay.
But I find that new One X2, I think that's a fantastic camera. It's brilliant. It's got the best battery life. It's been 100% reliable so far. I don't use it for any audio. I just use it as a B-roll camera. And it's great. You get some cracking angles with it. So
it's good all round to put on a handlebar and know that actually I don't need to I can just put that on and I don't need two cameras. So if something happens, I can capture it wherever it is. It's just doing it in post. The other thing, just thinking back to the ones that have been that have surprised in a disappointing way, is that's the GoPro Volta.
Oh yeah.
Which is a grip that I bought because I thought I need a grip because if we're going to start vlogging, that's great. I can control it from here. I can plug it in. Fantastic stuff. Only to discover that if you're using a media mod, you can't plug it in. Well, you can plug it in, but you can't control it with a media mod. And I wanted to use a media mod because the media mod has got a decent microphone on it. Filming to camera, I want that. I want the mod. I want the microphone. But this, when you plug it in, will charge this, but you can't use any of the operations. You have to use a Bluetooth. And then subsequently, you're using Bluetooth, so you're using more batteries. And so it wasn't expensive, though, whatever they are, 80 quid or something. But I'm kind of got it, and it's now like I could have just bought a plastic handle and put a camera on the top.
Yeah. I bought the DJI Pocket 2, the second generation Pocket. I bought that That's brilliant. I use that as a little vlogging camera. I've got the DSLR up there, like an old DSLR, but I never use that anymore. I just use the little DJI. It's great bit.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's a filmmaker who was asked to pitch for an advertisement. And I'm allowed to say what brand it is, and to film an advertisement for Mitsubishi cars. Mm-hmm. It's a big customer. He made a show reel, and he did it entirely on one of those little DJIs, gimbaled cameras. Yeah. And just because he's good at color grading and he's good at editing, and he put that in front of them, and he got the job for a big Mitsubishi TV commercial. And they were like, you've just blown us away. And he didn't have that. He didn't want to tell them. He'd just done it on a 300 quid kind of tiny little consumer camera.
Yeah. Not like a Red.
No, exactly. No big like Arri kind of. He was just like done that, and it's just the difference of knowing what you're doing with it and being able to do everything else behind it. He said that he used it a lot. He said they're fantastic things.
Yeah, great. I don't know if you're the same, but I literally scratched the surface of the capabilities of kit, like drones and 360s and even the GoPros. Just I got sucked into buying a drone, and I've used it twice. I use my drone quite a lot, but I don't use it. I don't use it for the. Occasionally, I'll use it for the big cinematic shots, that are in the show reel. But most of mine are just for, circular shots of a bike when I'm doing a bike review. Or just setting the scene if I'm away on a trip. It's just I found with drone footage, certainly in the bike sector, less is more.
Yeah. You only need a few seconds, don't you, at most?
Yeah, you put 20, 30 seconds of drone footage, and you look at your viewer attention, and it just drops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not interesting. I bought it with it, and I've kept hold of it because I thought if I start to do a bit more travel and go to places, it'd be nice to get it up to get a view of where you are.
Yeah.
But in my everyday, in my head, I was going to write. I bought the DJI Mavic Air 2.
Yeah, that's what I've got. Yeah.
I was like, well, that can track me, and it's got sensors, and I can put it on, and I can ride, and it can follow me. No. I don't do that because if I'm on a bike that's not mine, or what am I going to do with a controller? I haven't yet found a way of really mounting that strategically on the bike.
And it won't track you either.
And then you go riding away, and you're like, I'm always like, where's the camera? There's £1,000 in the air there.
Yeah.
Where is it? And then it's just like, it's too stressful. I'm just going to not bother.
Yeah. I want the Skydio 2. That's what I want, but it's not legal in the UK yet. But it's amazing, fully autonomous drone.
Oh, really?
Absolutely amazing. It's so good at its tracking. The US military use it.
Oh wow! Okay.
And they've weaponized them. This thing is shit hot. It locks on, and it totally flies itself.
Yeah.
You can ride through a forest, and it will follow you, dodging the trees as it goes.
Jesus,
it's incredible.
That sounds good. That does sound good. Yeah, that might be worth looking at some point. But yeah, I even went to the stage of, because this is, as you know, the Air 2 is heavier. And the problem is, as part of the world where I live, there's tons of airfields. Because it's East Anglia, there's loads of World War II airfields, which are still kind of, some are in use, and there's lots of little grass strips. So I would go out and I think, I'm going to film a bit here. And I get my little app out, and I'm like, oh no, I can't fly a drone there. And I do it, and I'm only 15 minutes away from, 15, 20 minutes away from Stansted Airport. Yeah. And that's got a massive kind of circle around it. So I'm constantly, I can't use it there. So I did the training, got my license, and did all that kind of business. And then it stays in the bag in the cupboard behind me.
And it's all changed now. It's $9.99. It's like a 20-minute online course now. Bosh, done.
Yeah, no. I didn't. I don't think I paid much more than £100 anyway, to be honest. But it was good to do because it taught me quite a lot about the usage of them and stuff like that. But I just haven't. It just came from the point where I'd stop somewhere and I think, well, there's a quiet road, I can use it here. Actually, no, I can't fly it because I'm in somebody's airspace. And I just get to the point where I was like, actually, I'm struggling to find anywhere where I can put it up in the air legally. I just won't bother.
But I mean, a lot of the time it's less than 20 feet up now, and it's generally about 20 feet away. So I can still use it anywhere really for mine. It's just, you just override it, and as long as you don't go above that ceiling, you're all right. You're okay.
I should probably spend more time doing it, but it's one of those things.
Right, next one of Average Bikers in a Cave. What is the one accessory you couldn't live without? Have we not done that before?
Yeah, earplugs for me, custom
earplugs. That's right. Yeah, we did do that one. Cheers, boys. Thank you very much for your questions. Next one, Adam Shand. Question to both. Quick, but very important. It says a lot about the type of man that you are. Scrunch or fold? I don't pre-read these at all, Tony. So scrunch, I'm assuming that's toilet paper. Scrunch or fold?
I kind of fold it and then scrunch it.
I mean, what heathen
That's not a bizarre
scrunches?
thing. I use too much toilet paper.
Yeah, I do.
There's an insight into my life. But I grew up in the period. I grew up in the 70s where you used to have that horrible shiny tracing paper.
Toilet paper, greaseproof paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never. All it did was smear it somewhere else.
Yeah. I remember that from primary school. Terrible stuff. Yeah,
so the luxury of nice toilet tissue. But good question. But I kind of fold and then scrunch it a little bit.
I don't get scrunching. I mean, I don't get
scrunch it. It's not like I just kind of.
No, I'm like origami. I fold and fold and fold.
Okay, fair enough.
Anyway, that's a vision to leave you with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Second last Patreon question, Tony Hannum. Hi guys, hope you're both well. This question is for both of you. Have you reviewed an item that seemed to be good at the time, but then turned out to be crap?
Yeah, there is something, and I'm struggling to. Well, the ghost is one thing that you say you pull it out of the box and go, "Wait, this is good," and then you look at the footage when you get back and go, "Okay."
Yeah, the hype was amazing, wasn't it? The PR and hype around it was awesome.
Yeah,
I just didn't live up to
it. No, I can't really think of anything that. Bell Bullet helmet. That's one. Looks great. When you look at it in terms of the retro styling helmets, they were really early into that marketplace.
Yeah.
And I persevered with it for a long time, but the reality is it's like riding around with a plastic bucket on your head. If it doesn't fit you, it's awful.
Okay. I can't think of anything.
That's the end of that. No more Bell reviews.
Yeah, that's the end of that. Yeah, we might have killed a few relationships in this one.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't think of anything that, apart from the Ghost 4K, I think that's been the only thing where I've been really excited about getting it. Excuse me. And then once it's turned up, has been a total letdown. I don't think there's anything else.
No, I can't think of anything that's been that much of a letdown, really. That
no. Bike-wise, there was I love the Sinus Terrain 125. I love that little bike. Great fun. And then they were bringing out the 380. So I said to them, please, because my 125 vids did really well. And I was like, please, can I get this 380 when it comes out? I was so excited. And then it just missed the mark massively for me personally.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't know if you're in the same opinion as me, that I thought the gear ratios for fourth and fifth are identical.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You'd switch from fourth gear at 5,000 revs and it'd go into fifth gear at 5,000 revs.
Yeah.
And it stayed the same. You're like, well, nothing's changed. I'm sure that whether it was just my bike, it seemed like the gear ratio between fourth and fifth was no different.
From what I remember, it was like in sixth gear by 30 mile an hour. Like it had nothing. You worked your way through the gears really quickly. And then I think from what I remember, it just felt like there was nothing. You could get to 80 mile an hour, but that was it. Whereas the little 125, you screamed the nuts off it the whole time. And it was part of the fun. And I just thought the 380 would be a usable road bike. No. Wasn't.
No, yeah, I looked at that and I thought this would be interesting compared to the KTM 390 Adventure, and they are light years apart.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Last one on Patreon, Pete Morris. Cheers for that one, Tony. Pete Morris, what is the best UK road you would recommend to ride? Oh, we've had this on the podcast before. Go on, then. Best
UK road.
Yeah, there's
a lot for me. There's a lot around me. I can rattle off B road numbers, which probably won't mean anything to anybody, but the 1051, 1053, 1061.
Oh, wow.
All good B roads, twisty. There's a road that runs from and I think that is the 1053 from Thaxted in Essex out towards Bishop Stortford or Stansted, Mount Fitchett, which is the route I take when I'm going to the Gold Top shop at the weekends. And that's got a bit of everything in it.
Right.
So those are good. And anything up around the Norfolk coast, I really like. I did that recently, did that a couple of weeks ago, or last week, for a video for one of the seat cushions, Comfort Air seat cushion.
Oh, yeah.
And
I missed the boat with them.
It's a route I wanted to take, and I had one to try. And so I thought, well, I'll go up to Louth. I went up to Cadwell Park, or stayed in Louth, but I went around the East Anglian coast. So instead of going straight up, I went out towards Ipswich and then hugged it as close as I could, all the way out through Suffolk, Norfolk, round to the Wash, then up to Skegness and across. And it in the end, I think I did 320 miles in the first day, and it took me over 9.5 hours.
Yeah.
Because I stayed off the main roads and I was stuck on the little ones.
There are some fantastic roads all up around Cadwell, all up in Lincolnshire. There's some stunning roads up there.
Yeah, particularly if you come out of Cadwell Park and turn left and you go down the hill, and that road out into the Wolds is that's phenomenal as well. But I imagine that there's going to be, I was taking it easy because I thought if I was a police officer with a speed camera, I would be sat on this road.
Do you know what? I was up there for 2 days doing the California Superbike School recently, and I was in a hotel. I can't remember where the hotel was, but you came out of Cadwell and turned right up that way, and it was up that neck of the woods, about half hour away.
Is it the Brackenborough Hotel?
Might have been. I can't remember.
Probably the closest one to there. I think that's where I stayed.
Nice. It's about half hour away. Quite big, posh, sort of mansionese type house, a big old fashioned house. One of them.
Okay,
set it right off the road.
I think I know what you mean.
And the roads were stunning. And I don't think I've ever, apart from on the continent, I don't think I've ever seen so many bikes out for a ride in the evening. It was just people out riding, having a great time. Didn't see a single copper in 2 days at all. No. It was awesome. Loved it. I'd move up there.
Yeah, there's loads. I think that's the thing. There's loads of places, isn't there, that are nice to ride. But for me, spending day in, day out, there's a lot of the B roads around the Essex, Suffolk countryside that are, for me, perfect.
West Scotland for me. We had this question with Simon Weir on, and the sort of West Scotland up through Sutherland, sort of Mallig up, Ullapool up. I just love all up there. There's not many roads, but
no, and that's fantastic. The one thing I've not spent. I used to work for a Scottish company, so I've been up there a few times, but it would be the same. I'd either fly up or get the train up, and I'd go to Aberdeen or I'd go to Edinburgh or I'd go to Glasgow. And we went to Loch Lomond. I managed to play golf at Loch Lomond, which was and played golf at Turnberry, which was fantastic.
Is that like Loch Lomond?
Loch Lomond, yeah. In the days when I used to play golf, and that was nice. But I've never ridden up there really, and that's something I've been trying to change. And I'd like to go up there and do some exploring, not necessarily the NC 500, but we're not following that route. But a lot of those roads is awesome. Across some places fantastic like that, roads that people say you need to go and do that.
I'm doing a tour up there with some punters and Simon Weir actually in August. Can't wait. Really looking forward to it. Love it up there.
And the midges.
Right. That's the only problem, isn't it, with Scotland? The rain and the midges. But well, it's worth it once you're up there. Yeah, exactly. Right, folks, thank you very much for all your questions over in the clan on Patreon. We'll move across. Do you still have some time, mate? There's probably about another 20 minutes.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Cool. So we'll move across to Instagram, which is at TeapotOne Insta. And obviously, I'll leave all Tony's social links and everything down below. So make sure you give him a follow and a like.
Thank you.
First one, Piston Pinup, Marta. Question for Tony. Yeah. What is the funniest compliment he got from bike followers?
The funniest compliment? Oh, Jesus. I don't get many. I did get a DM once from a guy who was hitting on me, which was quite.
He wasn't asking for your clothes, was he?
No, he wasn't asking for my clothes. He was just messaged me. It was quite strange. He messaged me just to say, I think you're quite an attractive man. I hope you don't find that a problem.
Wow.
To which I responded, well, no, I don't find that a problem. That's not the way I swing.
It's a compliment.
Doesn't mean it's not something I like. I don't know. I get a lot. Marta normally comes up with a few. herself. So
I thought it was just me.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't know. I get a lot. The trouble is, you get so many weird, and I'm not sure if they're compliments or not. You get lots of YouTube comments which are just completely out there.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether they're compliments or not. You know, when you get the question, when you get a comment, and you're not quite sure whether it is somebody having a go at you or somebody paying you a compliment, you just can't work out from what headspace it's come.
And it all depends what mood you're in as well, doesn't it? Like if you're in a good mood at the time, you can take it one way. But if you read it and you've got a cob on, you're not happy at the time. Like I've bet a few times and people are like, whoa, no, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you do. I think it's very easy with YouTube comments because you can't read the context. You can't get any intonation of the comment.
Yeah.
I find it really easy to take it as a negative. When it quite often it's not meant that way from the writer, and I have to stop myself sometimes and go, actually, I've checked the name out. This person is probably not writing in their first language.
Yeah.
So the way it's written might seem aggressive or brusque, but it's not. It's like me trying to write something in Portuguese. It would just be a nightmare.
Gotcha. She's got a second question. Most embarrassing motorcycle moment of your life?
A few crashing at the ABR festival. That wasn't really embarrassing.
You just went through some mud, didn't you?
I just went through some mud badly, but I went through some mud. On my old, actually at a bike meet, my old Moto Guzzi V7, I stopped, confidently kicked the side stand out, not realising that there was a drain cover there. And the side stand promptly went down the drain cover, and the bike went down whilst there was lots of onlookers. That wasn't great. We've all done it, I guess, but
I think my most embarrassing, worst biking moment was my first ever Patreon meet, where, bear in mind, these people allow me to do what I do full time. They're over half my income. So we had this meet up in the Lake District, and all these people chose to come, and it was amazing. It was awesome, to see a big wave of people coming. Yeah. We met up with everybody, stopped for some fuel, headed on out, and within 20 minutes, I rear-ended somebody. Like, not within our group. I was leading, and I went for the overtake. And
we're still talking about riding bikes, though, yeah.
Yeah. Just as I went to overtake him, he slammed on his brakes, and I rear-ended him because he said there was a pheasant came out in front of him. Or he saw a pheasant in the road, so that was.
Otherwise, I was going to say that's quite a patron perk, isn't it?
Well, me rear-ending
people. Yeah,
that's
what level of patron is that?
That's a top level tier, that, folks.
Top tier, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that's the worst one for me, definitely. Cheers, Marta. Thanks for those questions, pal.
Thanks, Marta.
Next one, Paul F0807. Looking forward to this. Does he still turn up at Gold Top?
Yeah. I'm the Gold Top Saturday boy.
So are you there every weekend, or is it just every Saturday?
Weekend? Yeah, every Saturday and Sunday generally, unless I get some time off, which isn't very often. But yeah. I went in there initially to help the guys to get the shop up and running. Mm-hmm. Because I'd photographed all of the products, I knew all of the products and all the colours. I knew how they were manufactured. I knew kind of all the details that you would need to sell it. And so, it's quite nice. I ride my bike in, I switch the coffee machine on, I put some music on, and I talk to people about bikes all day. Yeah. It's not a hardship. But yeah, I'm there pretty much every Saturday and Sunday.
I bet that's quite cathartic. That's quite a nice, just sort of chill out and enjoy the bike experience. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it's dead boring. Anybody that's worked in retail will know. Yeah. If you've got a day when you've got no customers walking through the door, there's only so much you can do in the shop once you've restocked everything and rearranged everything. It is what it is. But I've met some really nice people, some really interesting people. I've seen some really fantastic bikes. I've learned a lot in the time that I've been there. So yeah, it's good. Nice company, nice guys as well. Great products. Little plug in there as well. Absolutely. Links down below and all that jazz. I really like the social side of the whole YouTube thing. Like this becoming a like an influencer. I hate the word, but becoming an influencer. I really love the fact that people come up and say hello and start chatting with you. I love all that side of it. But yes, I've got other mates who don't. They're like, not within our world, but they're like, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you spend like a half an hour or an hour just chatting with people you don't know. And I'm like, yeah, but I love it. It's a great way to meet people. You've got a common,
fantastic people from doing that, and it's something that I never did enough of early, and I still probably don't do enough of it now. In terms of, I think what I found is I approached. I think people didn't really get to know me as a personality because the reviews were quite flat in terms
not
of
personal
delivering the stuff. So I don't think people really got to know me or my sense of humor or any of that kind of stuff, which is something that I regret not trying to do more of earlier. And that's just something I need to work on. I've recently set up a Patreon page.
Okay.
And I'd always kind of stepped away from it in the past and gone, it feels a bit like begging and blah, blah, blah. And it was only one person that actually, when I asked people their opinion on it, and somebody said, well, actually, I don't buy any motorcycle magazines anymore. So I don't mind giving a couple of quid to the creators that I watch every month. And I was like, okay, I kind of get that. And I support people on Patreon as well.
Yeah, me too.
But I really need to kind of up my game on that and get benefits and stuff out onto that page, and it's just finding the time and getting my head around doing that.
Absolutely. I
only have 3 patrons as it is anyway. So
right. Well, I think you'll probably get a few more from this, mate. Genuinely, I think you will, because patrons, the type of people who are not attracted to Patreon, but the type of people who embrace Patreon and actually support people on there, they tend not to just do one. I think I've got like 7 or 8 people that I'm a patron of. And most people are the same, I think. Most people tend to chuck a couple of quid to various different people. So, of course, you get the vast majority just turn around, and there's a small minority that go, I'm not paying for any old shit. I can get it for free, of course. And then you get other people that are just apathetic about it and choose not to. That's entirely theirs. But there is a percentage of people out there who recognise the time and effort it takes, and they want to help support you. So I'm sure you will get some people off this.
That would be good. And I've got some bits in the pipeline. Actually, talking to the guys that I've got who are patrons at the moment. So there's lots of ideas for stuff that I'd never really considered in terms of bespoke content for them. So one is a little potted history of me, a little tour of the Man Cave. Going through the process of, how you put a video together.
Yeah.
All of those bits and pieces, equipment that's being used. There's once you start thinking of it in that respect, I always struggled doing it previously because I thought, well, I don't know what I can offer that's, all of my time is going into just getting the content out onto the channel itself without having to do extra stuff for the patrons. But I'm now starting to think, actually, a lot of this can be really quick and dirty as well. And there's probably more appeal to having a genuine conversational piece to camera than the kind of a highly structured, kind of edited kind of piece of video.
You've got it there, because I was exactly the same mindset as you, and like, I could do all this stuff. And then I just thought, well, I'm struggling to get a vid out a week as it is. I can't add to that. But then I am still thinking about the same sort of production effort for all the content, and as you said, it doesn't need to be that, does it? It could be real.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's about building that community. So I'm going to set up a Discord server, but that's again is like Discord. What the hell is that? I don't know.
Tony, I'm old. What is it? I've heard this name bandied.
Well, it's just like it essentially becomes like your own sort of personal forum. So you can have like it's like your own little personal Facebook, I guess. You can post bits on there. People can ask you questions. You can do voice notes and voice calls and video chats as well and stuff like that. So instead of necessarily trying to do something on the Patreon, you can connect it to the Patreon platform, but instead of doing a live sort of YouTube thing or some kind of live stream, you can do that on Discord, as far as I'm aware. So you can say to the guys, well, we're going to spend an hour or 2 hours on this night and questions and answers, or we'll chat about something or whatever it might be. I think it's just an easier way of doing that than trying to sort of live stream on YouTube, which I tried to do once and it was a nightmare. So.
I do every couple of months. I do a clan only, Patreon only live stream on YouTube. We just did one Tuesday night actually, and yeah, there's always technical issues with it. Always, pardon me. But I have well, I didn't set it up, but a couple of friends on Patreon, they set up a private Facebook page just for TeapotOne.
Oh, okay.
So we have our own little private Facebook page, which I suppose is exactly the same as Discord. You know, it's where people can post their own stuff, and I can post stuff, and people post questions, and
it's just a different platform. It's just something I've never used. My son will help me because they have a Discord at university, which they talk to their lecturers. And it's just like an open forum. So if they've got an issue, they can go, well, instead of sending an email or having a WhatsApp, they can just go on and go, well, I've got this issue, or I can't interpret this properly, or whatever.
Yeah.
And all the fellow students and the lecturers and everything are on it. So it's kind of...
and anyone can comment on the thread, so to speak.
Yeah, it looks, like that. Or you can break it off. You can set up groups within it, I think, and various other bits and pieces. But it's one of those things is I don't really know enough about it. So I need to... It's the same with everything else. I haven't finished my website. I just need to find time to sit down and get my head around it. I'm an old boy. The thing about not teaching old dogs new tricks is probably correct.
Tony, we sound like brothers from another mother, mate. I'm in exactly the same boat. Like, I've got the Chicken Strips website.
Well, it's the trouble. I need to work on the length of the beard yet, but I'm getting a bit thin on top there. Probably won't be long before I shave my head either. So.
Right, second last question on Insta. Official Mr. Fish. Oh, here we go. What's he going to say?
Okay.
If it's cold and I only wear a T-shirt, is it possible to look me in the eyes? Yes, I have trousers on, Bruce. Right, what's that all about? I take it
never possible to just look him in the eyes. It was that came from the ABR festival. We were stood chatting, and the poor chap only had a T-shirt on in the evening, and it was getting very cold, and he was complaining that he was pointing at everybody.
Is he able to cut diamond? Was he?
Yeah, that's what was going on, like chapel hat pegs.
He was moaning that he had to spend 50 quid on a fleece. So I'm assuming that's as a direct result of that then.
I would imagine so, yeah. The temperature dropped. I just couldn't keep my eyes off them.
He's a good looking boy. He's working out.
He's a good looking boy. He's been working out at the gym now, isn't he? He's pretty buff.
Oh, yeah. Those camera angles and lighting. God, work a charm.
I think it's a suit. I think he's got one of those. Latex suits that he puts on.
Photoshop. That's all it is. It's Photoshop.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Next one, Paul Jai, 1971. Lovely bloke. Asked Tony if he managed to get back on the saddle after his stint down Dogger's Lane. All right, come on.
Yeah, that was just disappointing. It was just not what I was expecting. That came from is a thing I posted on Instagram, and it's part of the video that I'm getting ready for next week, which is the trip around East Anglia. And I was it was Wells next to sea, Wells and the Norfolk coast.
Yeah.
I just left there and I was trying to find my way. I was following a track on the Garmin. I was trying to find my way back onto the blue line, and I'd missed a couple of turnings. And then I spotted what is a tiny little lane that runs up. It's just about wide enough for one car. Right. And I thought, well, I'll go up there. That looks like it comes out somewhere on the map. And as I turned into it, there's a signpost on the wall that says Dogger's Lane. I thought, well, I need to go up there now. But unfortunately, maybe it's just because it was like mid-afternoon that there was no activity going on up there. So Tony just happened to find this place called Dogger's Lane. Just by accident found it. Yeah, just by accident. It wasn't on an app or anything at all. It's just like...
Turned out everyone's like, all right, Tony, how you doing? Right, that's all the questions on Insta. Lastly, we're across to Facebook. Now, most of them on Facebook are just saying that they love the channel. Eddie knew it. That'll be another good one. Dale Hawks, he does some great videos and reviews. Gavin Webster, excellent. He can show you how to look after your beard. Thanks. Cheers, Gavin.
Yeah, there's names I recognise a lot there, actually, from the comment. Dale Hawks is one who's a regular commenter on my channel.
He's a good lad, Dale.
Yeah.
What do you do with your beard? It looks very, very well manicured, that.
What do I do with it? Not a lot, really. It's short, I guess, which is by comparison.
Yeah, mine's a little bit out of control.
Mine doesn't come down there. It's getting. What's the thing? I've got the wrong finger. Yeah, it's getting a bit grey. But yeah, no, a bit of beard oil now and again.
What beard oil do you go for?
Wash it with some shampoo, and I use Layrite, which is they make a hair product, but they do kind of a nice, and it's like a balm. It's kind of it's like an oily wax, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I can recommend these people. Hang on. They are not a sponsor, but I've had John on the podcast.
But they should be.
Brobeard. Okay. Scottish, entirely natural, brilliant. I've used a lot of different. John, if you're listening or watching to this, I'm going to give you a little bit of a plug, mate. I've used a lot of different beard oils in my time, and this one's brilliant. It really is good. It's sort of it. I never thought I would say this. It gives volume to my hair, and it really does stop the itch.
What is happening to us?
Do you know what I mean? What's going on here? What has happened, Tony? What has happened? I don't know. There's a definite. Even my wife noticed. She I had
a friend of mine who was with the beard, and I was talking to somebody else about beard oil, and he was taking the mickey. He was getting beard oil. I was just what he's going on about, and he was kind of really having a dig at us, and kind of half-heartedly with a bit of fun, and it took a while for me because he was like, "Oh, well, just wash it, and just what's wrong with shampoo?" And it was only after a while that I kind of sat there thinking about it, and I was like, "Oh, actually, you don't just wash your hair and not put any hair product in it, and it's the same thing." But I didn't think of it until too late. That was the thing.
The hair on a beard is totally different to the hair that's on your head.
Exactly.
That's the thing. So you shampoo for your hair doesn't do the same for your beard hair that it does for your head hair.
No.
Plus, you have all the issues with dry skin and everything that you get through your beard, which is why you use the beard oil and the beard shampoo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'll check them out. Broadbeard, I'll check them out.
My invoice is in the post, John. Right, last question, because I really appreciate you spending almost 3 hours of your evening.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It's gone like that, Bruce.
Good. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Stuart Hill. I've seen some folk with dogs in a tank bag or others in a back box, but these have all been miniature or small yappers. As you're both well versed in the biking world, anyone have any ideas on how to take a proper 30 to 40 kilogram dog on adventures? Would it be a bike trailer, perhaps? Something appropriate to suit a modern sports tourer. I've thought about this because my mutt's a good 30 odd kilograms, and I've thought to myself, be cool to get her out on the bike, but I've got no idea how.
Backpack.
What about you? Backpack?
Yeah.
Two
legs around the side, 2 legs over the top.
30 kilograms.
Yeah.
Jesus.
What kind of dog's that?
You're talking 30 to 40 kilogram dog. You're talking like big Alsatian and up.
Okay. I don't have a dog, so I would go Ural
sidecar.
Ural sidecar,
yeah. I think for a big dog,
I've seen a Great Dane in a Ural sidecar.
I have, yeah. In America, in the States, there's no restrictions. I think on having a dog or animals on your bike. So you can just have them sat on the back if you want. And I've seen in the States, there's a Great Dane that just sits. In fact, there's even like a husky as well. I've seen that. They just sit on the pillion seat with the hands over the rider's shoulder.
I've seen them in sort of Southeast Asia where they have dogs just sitting on the footboards of a scooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't own a dog. I've never owned a dog. So, yeah, I'd have to plead the silence on that one. So if it was me, the easiest thing would be to put it in a sidecar, which could be fun. But then run the motorcycle with a sidecar, it doesn't appeal to me that much either. I'd like to do it, but in real terms, I think you get all the disadvantages of riding a bike and none of the advantages.
Yes. No,
you get open to the elements and all the other problems, but you also have to sit in traffic.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, although I've never ridden a sidecar yet. Mart, I know, as my mate Mart is screaming because for the last 4 or 5 years he's been trying to get me out on his sidecar. It's going to happen, Mart. It will happen at some point. In fact,
I'd love to have a go. I was looking at one of the Euro had one at the ABR festival, and I was like,
yeah.
But it looks like quite good fun, and I'd yeah, I just like to have that experience, but not all the time.
You want to drop Matt and Reese a line, the sidecar guys. They've been on the podcast as well. They're the guys you want to speak to because they've got a Euro, a modern Euro, and they do like experience days out on them and stuff. Right. Okay. I'm sure they'd love to have you along.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yeah. I've seen a lot of their stuff, so yeah, that'd be definitely.
Yeah, Stuart, definitely, mate. If it was me, for a big dog like that, it'd have to be the sidecar. Because you're not going to ride like a hooligan when you've got your beloved dog with you anyway, are you?
No.
So, all right, having the missus or the other half on the back, but the dog, you want to take it easy. You don't want to damage your dog.
Exactly, yeah.
Dude, that's us gone through all the questions. Almost Perfect. 3 hours.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that many questions.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Mate, before we go, feel free. The stage is yours. Please plug anything that you want. Give any shout outs. Over to you.
No, I'm just, as I say, when we talked about it earlier on, I'm still blown away. It's easy to compare yourself with other people, but I'm still blown away by the number of people that choose to watch my videos or subscribe to the videos. I get very little in the way of negative, not negative feedback. I get very little in the way of trolls. Mm-hmm. I think that's good. You get the odd one, and you always get a few idiots, but by and large, the people are really good, and there's a nice core of people that come back every video, even if it. And I appreciate even if the video content may not necessarily be what somebody is interested in.
Yeah,
but I still get the people that take the time to do that. So I'm really grateful for those people that do that. It's easy to say, well, subscribe to the channel and all those bits and pieces, but I'd like people just to take my content for what it is, and if they enjoy what's going on, then the more subscribers, obviously, the better. A few more patrons would be great, but other than that, I just want people to enjoy the real mix and breadth of creators that are on the platform, because there's some brilliant people out there. I don't even need to name all of them. Obviously, Bruce, you're one of those, but I've been watching your stuff for years, but there's a lot of guys out there and girls. Sorry, when I say guys, that's a catch-all for everybody. But there's just tons of great content out there. And I think we're now really spoiled at the quality of stuff that we can watch. And many of the channels and the videos you watch, the production quality is kind of where TV was 10 or 15 years ago.
Absolutely. It's so good now, isn't it? Across the board, yeah. It's brilliant. It used to be that if you... Sorry to interrupt. It used to be that your production values
there's not really any barriers.
Yeah, definitely.
If you think of something, just do it, and it'll either work or it won't work.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Right then, folks, not much more I can say to that other than if you've not checked out Tony's channel or social media, please do. Give him the like, the follow, the subscribe, all that jazz. I'll leave all the links down below. Tony, thanks very much for spending the evening with us, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Absolute pleasure. All right, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it. Keep doing your thing. Please tell everybody you know about the podcast if you're enjoying it. Share it with everyone that you know. Keep doing your thing. Look after those that you love. Get on out there whenever you can. But most importantly, live your life. Woo-ha!
Spot on.